OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
7:30, OTB AM. You're very welcome along. It's a full studio, as you can hear. Colin Bowie, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian Barry. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, Shane. Good morning to you.
Happy Christmas.
Cameron, what's happening?
Good morning. I feel like I've been invited over to Shane and Cullum's house after school, just because I've watched the dynamic, like up close and personal, and I feel like I'm at Shane and Cullum's house after school, and they're always giving cheek to Dad.
Dad on this occasion is Adrian.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of
Like
like,
that.
You're a Friday dad.
Well, fair play everybody for wearing the Christmas jumpers.
thank you.
Yeah. Good effort. Good effort, one and all.
All around solid.
What
effort,
happened to
I
you,
think.
Cameron?
I was looking for one yesterday and I couldn't. I was doing, lastminute.com on it, and I just couldn't find one anywhere.
Yeah, so you thought you'd stick that Christmas robin in front of you and nobody really noticed?
Yeah,
too much?
absolutely.
Who are Red Star Paris?
They're like the third club in Paris. So there's Paris Saint-Germain, obviously, for those of you who've never heard of those. Then Paris FC, and then Red Star Paris, who are like, I think they're like the fifth tier of French football.
I just saw you floating around with a green jersey and I assumed it was Connacht.
Hipster.
No, and the Connacht mug is outside today, unfortunately. But yeah, I decided I'd wear this because it's green and it's got a little bit of red on it. And they're Christmassy colours, aren't they?
They are. I had a better Christmas jumper that I didn't wear. It has a photo of Louis Theroux's face and it says "Dancing Through the Snow."
Very good.
It was better.
I was surprised. I actually thought it was quite refrained for Shane Hannon.
It says YOLO.
Bit of gear.
And
You only live once.
I don't know what else.
You've made this is like if you were to if nobody used to wear their tops and we were to lay them out and go, who matches with who here? It wouldn't really be too much question.
Well, sorry, yours is
try hard over
mine's
here.
the best in the room here. Quite comfortably.
I think comfortably. Yeah.
I think mine's quite subtle and nice. Now the problem is, is there a cushion around? Because I need to be able to be seen here. Because I just realised
you could just
can't see
perk
it.
yourself up.
I can't. I have a
Stop
great
slouching.
posture.
Napoleon
My posture
syndrome
couldn't be
over
better. But there usually is a cushion knocking around.
As Billy Bowie could tell you, stop slouching, sit up there.
He would. That's a big one he used to say. Yeah. That's all you're ever interested in football, is it?
Yeah.
You'll never get a job out of that.
Yeah.
Well, look at me now.
Kind of right.
There's another jumper I have too, Christmas jumper, and the scarf actually juts out from the snowman. Right. But I couldn't find it.
Now,
hang on to it.
stay tuned because there is better stuff coming.
It's Christmas
don't take that as a
No,
invite.
Everyone that's watching now, everyone's
I think
tuned out.
well, given we've a loyal legion of viewers who regularly like to have their say, we should put it to them. Who's decked out today?
But you can't even really appreciate
lads, it's not even a. Your jersey's great, but I mean, it's not even a.
That's what I have.
If you want a Christmas jumper, that's a Christmas jumper. Like, you have to look fairly crap.
That's it, yeah. Kevin Callahan, good morning to you, Kevin. First, happy Friday from Slovakia, boys. Good morning to you, Kevin. I hope life is good, and we have loads to come, obviously, of actual chat in a little bit. The football last night, and it turns out everybody was glued to this. Everybody was, apart from you, Cameron, you didn't also get the invite, I don't think, out last night.
I got a solid hour out of it, I'd say.
Out of the match last night.
Yeah, not 90 minutes. But
nobody was really watching it. And Cullum, I don't know if you got a text, lads, yesterday, but Cullum was out, went out for a few pints yesterday. Did you get it?
Oh,
didn't get a text.
no, didn't get a text at all.
No. I wouldn't do that to my teammates. They have to prepare for the show. Cameron
just nice to get the invite.
Cameron is actually producing the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to get the invite, I mean, is what I'm saying. Leave it up to him to decline.
Thought, counting.
I wouldn't do that to a young player coming through. Like, he needs to focus on the game. Star player, I'm not going to injure a star player.
You're leaving him, you're alienating him.
And this guy, like,
I feel like the senior players don't like me all that much.
I had to decline so shout out to my two housemates, Billy and Tom, who had to decline an invite to the pub last night because of my professionalism. And,
it didn't stop you the night before, from what I heard.
No, fair point. Yeah, one night in a row is enough for when you get to a certain age, I think. So, apologies to all I offended by not going out last night, but look, it's a long Christmas season ahead and silly season as well upon us, so there's plenty more nights.
You're surprisingly sprightly.
Colin?
Shane?
Yeah. You?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm always sprightly.
No, but you had pints last night.
I timed it well, though. I timed it really well. I was actually home. I just realised I was home for midway through the second half of the Manchester City Liverpool. Some of these goals are familiar to me.
Yeah. It's all coming back to you.
It is coming back.
You were out with JP. Where were you?
Sheehan's down the road, great pub. We could get some sort of partnership going with them, actually, although we can't really with breakfast. But they were
good.
They're great. They're
good.
Good, very accommodating, like, and good.
What does that mean? They recognised you? They were like,
absolutely not.
There's very few people that work for this company that, I don't know if you've gotten onto this yet, lads, but when he's out and about, he gets a little Are you your man from the? Are you that lad?
I don't.
There's very few.
I got it.
people
I got it in Galway.
that
I got it in Galway at a stag.
appreciate
I got
that more
3
than
different
you.
groups of young lads coming up, being like, "Oh, the breakfast show, watch it every." It's a mad demographic. I thought it was an older crowd, and then I got it one other time at a gig, and that was it. You mustn't be able to walk down the streets.
You love that.
of
Oh no,
Westmeath.
sure. So you get
No,
Kissing
but I
babies.
think-
You mustn't be
the
able
streets
to do
of Westmeath.
Yeah. Street of Kilmacud. From
At least
Kilmacud.
Kilmacud is an actual place.
Tell us about Westmeath. Yeah.
A few more here. Ronan McLaughlin just says Shane. Now I'm going to insert the idea that he's sort of voting for your jumper there.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Maybe he's
It's just
starting
trying
a
to get
rant.
attention.
He's
And
going to
then
be starting.
Spectre Core.
Wait for the next
and I can
comment.
preempt this comment with a screw you, Spectre Core.
Yeah.
Who says, "Wow, the A team today."
Yeah.
On the drive home for Christmas from Tenerife. Happy Christmas, lads. Says
Jeez,
Rick Jagger.
you might want to get a flight.
And Shane's jumper by a long County Monaghan mile, says Fergus Keogh.
Good man, Fergus.
Yeah, but Fergus, you're just going by the aesthetics. You gotta.
It's clearly the best
gotta
Christmas
look.
jumper.
Well, I don't think
Well,
people are really
I
seeing
mean, sorry,
mine.
hang
Yeah,
on now a
'cause there's
second.
so much more
you're,
to
you're only
consider.
going by the aesthetics.
Yeah.
What else do
right.
you go by?
The subtlety.
Do you go by the smell of the
What else
jumper?
are
Is
we
it?
looking out for
Smell,
here?
is it?
Look at that, look.
The more
I
you
actually
perk
can't
yourself
sit
up, I know
I
you're
actually
trying.
can't sit up any more than
They're
that.
only judging the food and the taste.
not
What's that
really.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Infantino over here in the corner.
Yeah.
With nice sort of clunky segue into some football chat that nobody watched last night.
I did. I told you. I
City
did
Liverpool. I have to say the entire game, the quality of the teams, the quality of the players on show, really helped me decompress from the World Cup. I was
Surprisingly good.
Yeah.
well,
because
I mean-
we were all pouring scoring on it, you know. In fact, it might have been you, Cameron. I'm saying that straight off the top of my head without any research done. But before the World Cup, we were like, it might not have been you. Who would, when the League Cup is back in the week after the World Cup, who's going to give two hoots about this? Actually, it was brilliant. It was great.
Well, that's it. I mean, it was great that Kevin De Bruyne saved himself during the World Cup
for the
for
Carabao.
this game. Yeah.
Do you think was he like learning on last night in a screw you Martinez sort of way?
Yeah,
Like,
he would have been angry.
yeah.
actually,
He would have been angry, surely.
I'm
wouldn't
angry,
he?
Tony.
After, Belgium, they were disgrace.
It felt very good. It felt Premier League pace, and you don't often get that. And I think that suits everybody. And actually, looking at some of the numbers, there's all this chat about sort of teams having a hangover from the World Cup, and players are fatigued. But 63 Premier League players played in the World Cup quarterfinals, and that was down to 12. So they were 2 weeks ago, and that was down to 12 by the semi-finals. So there shouldn't be any idea of
Massive
general.
I
sort
still
of-
think it's going to tell, like, maybe not straight away, but in a couple of weeks' time, you'll see players starting to.
The tiredness might
Yeah,
kick
Well,
in.
tiredness might set
it
in.
shouldn't affect anybody beyond those 12 players.
But,
if there's
well,
any players outside of that, they're making excuses.
I don't think it's a total coincidence that the 2-star players in the final play for a club who are rarely challenged in their domestic league and were a bit fresher than everybody else. I don't, maybe I'm reading a bit too much into that, but I don't think that's entirely coincidental either.
Yeah, and the fact that Griezmann was so good across the tournament and
That's
just
it, yeah.
was used so sparingly on purpose throughout the season in La Liga. The players with energy who knew were going to play better in the World Cup. So yeah.
Well, and even Haaland, 10 minutes in, lashes into the back of the net with his literally with his studs. He's like, right, well, I mean, you've forgotten about me now over the last while, but I'm still here. And Caoimhín Kelleher, we have this conversation after every single time he plays.
Yeah.
But bloody hell, he just needs to get out. He's such a good goalkeeper. He has it all. He uses every part of his body to keep the ball out of the net. He's got great feet mostly. He seems to give great confidence to the defenders that are playing in front of him. They're not wobbling around in a way that you might be with a sub-keeper. Every time we see him play, we feel this guy just needs to start getting football.
Yeah. And the worry now we were saying pre-show is that could be it for Caoimhín Kelleher and playing for Liverpool this season. His opportunities are severely diminished because of the relatively early League Cup exit. And that's when he became a star. One of the highlights for me of 2022 was his performance in the League Cup final.
Yeah.
And then when he absolutely thumped the penalty into the top corner, and then he's such a laid back and unassuming demeanour, and he started off as a goalkeeper so late in life. It was only in his early teens he went in goal because Ringmahon were short of a player, and he used to be a striker.
Oh, he's from Cork, yeah.
He's from Cork, yeah. Yeah, he's from Cork.
in case you didn't know, yeah.
He used to be a centre forward, banging in the goals.
Very good at the ball at his feet.
That's what I mean. He started off, but it is a shame.
I thought for the last goal, the Aki header, he and Michael Richards kind of brought it up. Maybe he could have been more vocal. The ball was clear. There was 2 or 3 City players lining up to head it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So we've always looked at it and said, that he's doing brilliantly, and if we could see, some people would have made the case that we don't see him very often. So because of that, it's kind of easy to be really good because you don't have to turn it on every now and then. But I thought I'd sort of make the opposite case that we don't see him very often. He can't ever really be match fit because he's never getting a run of games.
No.
It must be incredibly difficult because I mean that would not necessarily fully, you can't be giving him an out because of that, but if you're not fully match fit all the time and in the habit of like all those things that Richards would have brought up, I think that you'd be more excited about him if you could see him week in, week out.
I think the Liverpool exit in the Carabao only serves to highlight the fact that he needs a loan move. Like I spoke to Packy Bonner about this recently enough, and he was basically saying, yeah, now's the time for the loan move. I don't know where he goes. I'd say there'd be a queue of clubs lining up for him.
Would there, do you think?
I think so.
At what level do you think?
Well,
Lower Premier League or upper Championship?
Certainly Championship clubs will be lining up, would be mad to get a signature given the experience he has in the Champions League and everything else. But he would get a Premier League position.
This is a slightly unanswerable question because for the point that I've literally just made there a minute ago, as in we don't see too much of him. But on the face of what we've seen, how many Premier League goalkeepers are better than him?
Well, it's not fair in the Premier League goalkeepers that play all the time.
Yes,
because if you play all the time, you're going to concede more goals than a guy who sporadically shows up. Like he's he has cameos.
Yeah,
but
so I go back to you might have been just watching the highlights there, and you maybe weren't paying a huge amount of attention.
Well, I was listening to everyone.
From what we've seen,
as always.
From what we've seen,
I keep my ears off.
What we've seen.
Yeah.
From what we've seen.
Okay, go on.
How many Premier League goalkeepers are better than him?
I would say totally what they've seen or what I've seen.
Yeah,
half a dozen maybe. So I would put him top 10 goalkeepers in the Premier League. But don't clip that line because it's not true.
I don't agree.
Like we've only seen him a bit.
I think he's a good bit down the pecking order. I think there's goalkeepers who
he doesn't do anything wrong though.
But they're not in very defensively set teams. Like I think Meslier is one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, but his defence in front of him is terrible. And it means that it doesn't reflect well on him, but he is incredibly strong.
He's got a bit of the Shay Givens going on.
I think Sa for Wolves has been fantastic, but Wolves' defence has been woeful.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you look at Liverpool's defence last night, and you could have made a lot of the similar cases, and potentially in the League Cup that would also have been the case. Like, look, it is unanswerable for that exact reason, but I would love to see him.
He remains a mystery. He is a bit of a mystery, isn't he?
Like I suppose, but I have a sense that he is better than a lot of starting goalkeepers in the Premier League.
And I also have a theory that this is the best his career will ever get, because as soon as he starts playing regularly, he'll just become another goalkeeper. We're fascinated by talking about
week in, week out Premier League keeper. That's like he's 24 now. Now is the time to go. I actually think it's nearly getting beyond the point where he needs to be out on loan.
Absolutely, and I think
I'd be concerned if he stays for another season, for example, at Liverpool.
What did you say he was?
24. Like he needs to go.
Well, we've kind of gone a little bit cold on Bazunu because Southampton.
Because he plays all the time.
Yeah, but Southampton's difficult because the Premier League is actually quite good.
Does he have number one Irish ambitions? Because if he does, then he has to look.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
But he has to look at Gavin Bazunu playing week in, week out in the Premier League and go, I'm never going to get into the Irish
Can
team.
I just say, we have not gone a bit cold on Bazunu.
No, but I think we've sort of...
He's unbelievable.
We've realised just how much he still has to learn. But that, I think Gallagher needs to... what do you think his feeling is? Do you think he wants a loan move?
He seems happy where he's at.
What
are you grinning about?
There's a good comment coming. I'm asking in a minute.
What is it?
We'll ask in a minute. But I think it's actually much more difficult for Kelleher than we're giving him credit for in terms of decision making, what he's going to do with his future. If you're at Liverpool and one of the best managers in the world loves you, it's intoxicating, I imagine. And think about it, Kelleher, he only became a goalkeeper a decade ago. He's like, oh my God, this is how good I could be. And one of the best managers in the world says that I could be excellent. And all it takes is Addison to get injured or suspended or whatever.
You can't sit around waiting for that.
Oh, you can't.
I don't think that. I think he could get, if he gets.
You can waste a career doing that.
He'll eventually need to go. But I don't think there's a massive rush.
He's wasting his career at the minute.
I don't think he's too young.
He's Raymond van der Houw. He's Raymond van der Houw.
He's not. We just stop. That's your Christmas.
He's a danger of turning into Raymond van Barneveld if he doesn't get a move sometime soon.
You don't want to be that.
That's good. Yeah.
The segue next clunky segue that you're probably getting to. Darwin Núñez is another player. Looking at him last night, and he it's so frustrating in one regard, and in a very one-dimensional way. I could imagine as a Liverpool fan you'd be absolutely screaming at the TV at times with him because he just seems to get himself in great positions, and you have no faith in him as he seems to have no faith in himself to actually lash the ball in the back of the net. He had
Jesus,
3
he's quick though.
clear-cut chances last night, and scuffed every one of them in the exact same way.
Look at his pace here for Salah's equaliser.
Yeah, the pace is ridiculous.
Unbelievable. Then that finish.
Yeah.
We have found
a great run for the assist for the Salah goal. A great run. The speed of him exceptional, and his play around there is amazing. Maybe he needs to. I was thinking about it last night, and like it's not ever going to be a like for like. But the Griezmann situation with adapting to a entirely different position, just find somewhere else from, get him away from goal.
Like Joelinton.
Find something else. Find something else from. Yeah, and I mean I don't think it's deep central. It's probably deep wide. But
I think the misnomer with Darwin Núñez is that he was technically not good enough, but I think he's technically brilliant.
Well, they say the same about Salah.
Decision making is, but I'm looking at this chance here, the 1-on-1, 3-2 down in the 72nd minute, and he drags it with his right foot wide. And that is classic Núñez, lack of composure. And then we have Fergus Keogh in the comments saying, would Shane have scored those chances Darwin missed? And another mystery with OTB, when we talk about Caoimhín Kelleher, is an external figure, and internal figures. Just how good at football is Shane Hannon? Because I've heard a lot about this.
You've heard a lot, have you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Mainly from Shane himself, of course.
Yeah, that's
mainly,
the thing,
of course, I'll bring it up.
He gives hints about that he is possibly very good.
No. I have a strike partnership built up with Paul Smith, who's a former League of Ireland legend. He's 41.
All right. Young man.
So I'm the young man on the team. But would I have put them away? I like to think I would have. There's a famous character in Monaghan Town called Tom Swift, Tom the Buck, we call him at home, who once signed me up for Monaghan Town in a chipper. And he said, I'm signing you up because you know where the onion bag is. And
where did he sign you up from, of course, is the question with you. Like,
free agent.
Right, yeah.
Just walking around the town. I was young. I was only 16 or 17.
Right.
And we won the Ulster Junior Cup the following year. The rest is history. Do you know? So,
yeah.
That's all I'd say. Would I put them away?
Probably not.
Probably, absolutely not.
Was that your GMAC for the day?
That was the GMAC for the day.
The other big news, of course, emerging overnight was that Gianni Infantino has unfollowed Salt Bay on Instagram. He's gone from, I think, 303 to 302 followers. He's gone. And also FIFA have launched an investigation as to what he was doing on the pitch after the World Cup final. I mean, what's the investigation required for? Like,
he was there. He was a dose.
He was there as a pal. He was also seemed to be wearing a grey suit that like made him look a little bit FIFA-ish.
Yeah. And he had a lanyard, didn't he?
He had a lanyard on him.
That gave him certain access.
Yeah.
Do you think, were the security people going, here's Salt Bay, I might get myself free steak if I let him on the pitch?
I don't
like
know.
Infantino
if you've heard about his steak, you wouldn't really want that. Like, he'd have to pay you. It doesn't sound like it's good steak.
I'd tell you now straight off the bat, that's not true.
You're not a fan
of $2,000 for the pleasure.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan of the steak. So the steak comes out with a suitcase, a bit of smoke rising out of it. You've got a couple of bodyguards either side. Salt Bay's there, ready to do his little piece. Gold plated steak, whatever way you want to put it. You're not a fan of the.
What is it with the gold on the steak? I don't want to be eating gold. Like,
no,
don't be charging me extra for putting gold on. I'm alright for the gold, thanks.
Yeah.
Like,
forget that.
and then he comes out, and his shtick is that he does the old salt off the elbow.
Yeah.
Lathers the steak with salt. I paid $2,000 for this. I presume prime cut of steak. I can't taste the steak because he's just covered in salt.
So you
Plus,
prefer,
if you're a big enough celebrity and you come out, which Infantino was,
which you would be as well if you were over in Dubai, obviously.
So if you're a big enough celebrity, he'll actually allow you to do the salt.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've turned up here because your only shtick is that you're going to do the salt,
and then you're
asking me to do it.
Yeah. For a photo op.
I just love the idea of you going to his restaurant and he does the whole stick and you're like, I'm okay for salt.
I would be like, listen,
give me all the bay you want.
Sorry, am I paying $2,000 for this?
All the salt, I'll take the bay.
I'm grand for your salt.
I'd love to see you. There's a place in LA, Adrian, I've heard of, called Cafe Gratitude, and they don't. So you have a menu.
We should all take a trip there.
We should all go. Oh, we should do a show from there. That'd be great. Because they have a menu, but you don't order like, I'll have this. You tell the wait staff, today I feel like relieved or joyous, and that you order based on that. And like for cynical Irish people like us, I feel like that'd be a lot of fun.
What if you were like Infantino when you were?
Well, Infantino.
Today I feel.
I wonder what
there's a brand new restaurant based on Infantino's monologue.
Yeah.
So hold on, if you say I feel relieved, is it an option?
Well, the wait staff come over and they go, how are you feeling today? And I feel pleasant. And that'll correspond to something on the menu. But lots of people, like British people, go and just, by the way, I'm not doing that shite.
All right, yeah, what if you have allergies? Like?
Well, and also, what is this for a coffee order or food?
Food. It's a vegan restaurant.
Today I feel I'm hungry.
So you wouldn't be going.
Don't
if
have
you're
anything for that, I'm afraid.
You wouldn't go if you're in Dubai to Salt Bay's restaurant.
No, like I never understand. You know when you watch TV cooking programs and you know the chefs and everybody else are there and they pour like a half a gallon of cream, all the salt you want into these dishes, and then afterwards they're all like, "Oh, this is delicious." It doesn't matter what you do with food. If you pour a half a gallon of cream and a lot of salt into it,
it's a fair point.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. I've got a joke about Dubai. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Go on.
The people in Dubai
Slightly concerned here, but go ahead.
It's safe. The people in Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but the people in Abu Dhabi do.
Very good, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I'll just leave.
That is wonderful.
Thanks for coming in, Shane.
It's Christmas. Thank you. That's
that's a Christmas cracker joke.
Anyone any better jokes? Clean ones in the comments, please. Thank you.
Any stories?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's the whole Salt Bay stuff. They've launched an investigation into it. What the hell was he doing on the pitch? And I suppose we'll discover over the next while what he was doing there. And
he's like the human form of the Ga jersey at a event, isn't he?
He just appears everywhere.
He just appears at
Forrest
every.
Gump, he's everywhere.
But he elicits the complete opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Here he is again.
It left a bad taste. Alessandro Martinez, he's like, sorry, excuse the salty pun. But like,
there's the headline right there.
Bad taste.
Salt Bay leaves a bad taste.
It's completely unintentional as well. Must be naturally funny, I think, is the phrase.
Smattering salt into the wound over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just one of those things that you just, when you see the video, it makes you a little bit angry. You're like, what is this dose doing here?
Oh, well, it was the fact that Messi gave him such a cold shoulder, I thought was genius as well.
Yeah,
I was so much more enraged by that than the Bisht thing.
Yeah.
Him on the... Hold on, is he not a hero? Like, he's got so much out of so little. Isn't he an inspiration to many?
Salt Bay.
He's fooled the world. Good luck to him.
Yeah, fair play.
It's everyone else's fault.
Fair play to him, for sure.
His stick is he does a little salt on the steak and he cuts it up funny.
It's a bag of smoke.
And says nothing.
And then he doesn't say a word. So there's like minimal output.
No spiel, yeah.
Puts on sunglasses, he hides. You walk on the street if you want to.
White t-shirt.
And that's all he does. And he's probably, what's he worth?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's charging $2,000 a steak at 4 or 5 restaurants.
We're angry at the wrong person. We're angry at the people, Shane, not the man.
Yeah.
In this case, the man has tricked us.
Right, we're going to reconvene this conversation, I understand, in about 20 minutes' time or so.
Producer Cameron thinks we should, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think with less added spice.
There's more to discuss, is that what we're saying?
Someone in the comments said the only thing worse than Salt Bay's restaurant is Shane's joke. I'm very offended by that.
Which one? Take your pick.
The Abu Dhabi do, I think, is the one.
7:52, you're watching OTB AM, and delighted to have you along with us this morning. We're going to have more of that later on, so if you're...
Well, you heard.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Brought to you live each morning, of course, by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Here's what's coming up between now and 10 this morning. Ronan O'Gara standing by and be joining us in a couple of moments' time. We're going to be dipping into Shane Hannon's top 5 snooker moments of the year.
Yeah, underrepresented sport. Let's dive in. Let's dive deep.
That's the way to the underrepresented sport. That's the way.
You're excited about that?
I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go from that to darts. And we're going to be joined by Jack Langston, who's a sports darts podcaster and former referee, I believe.
Yeah.
And
you're looking forward to that as well.
I'm looking forward to that one.
If you could see how joyous your eyes look when
my eyes are knackered from being up very late with the kids. And then we have our other panel to come in at some point or another. And then Alan Quinlan is going to come in and talk some sense about rugby. So this is the way the morning is stacked up. We're with you now.
Darts and snooker fans, tune in, get excited.
That's right. And if you're not into those things, also stay tuned because we've other good stuff coming a little bit after that. But delighted to say 7:53. It's Friday morning. Ronan O'Gara, good morning to you.
Morning, hey lads.
How are you keeping?
You're on form.
Oh, listen, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going on this morning, Ronan, but I'm sure it's going to be the tone of the day. How are you keeping?
Good, yeah. I was enjoying the Salt Bay stories. It's I have a good one in that as well. Two of my players, Victor Vito and Cor Barlow, got caught in Dubai for a night out, thinking they were two big dogs going to one of his restaurants, and I think actually both of them had to ring their bank in New Zealand to alter their limit on their credit card. They weren't
getting the Infantino free steak then.
No, I don't need. because they obviously eat quite a bit of protein, rugby players, you know. So I think they went again, and what actually happened, I actually think they left a little bit of the second steak behind, and they were just like, oh my God, do you understand how much that cost? And
did they go for the gold-plated one? Did you find out, or was it just a straight?
No idea. I was there with them, but I was hoping it was probably because I have 5 kids, they were smart enough not to invite me and Jess. But it's an extraordinary amount of money, isn't it, for a night out, you know? And it was great too. 2 Kiwis, they watched the pennies. Those 2 boys, 2 great guys.
What would you do, Ronan? What would you do if you, say hypothetically, during your career, won a World Cup with Ireland, you're celebrating with the trophy, and you turn around to a tap on your shoulder in Salt Bay? You turn around and Salt Bay is behind you, you know, dying for a photograph.
Though, I would say, you know, we are in your own little world at that stage. I'd say they had no idea who this guy is or what's going on. You know, I think they presume it was some kind of probably organizer, kind of helping with the parade. Little did they know it.
Salt Bay. I just don't get it. And the lashings of salt on the steak, I'm like, if I'm paying $2,000 for a gold-plated steak, the last thing I want is a load of salt on it. I'm not going to lie.
It can't be that much, though, is it?
That's apparently for the gold-plated one, yeah.
Do you get to keep the gold? When
I don't know, does that include him? No, you eat it.
I know, but then when it comes out the other end, do you get...
Oh, Jesus Christ. I haven't got that far in the conversation, Jen. I'm not going to lie to you.
I don't know how it works.
I don't know, is the $2,000 like sort of... Do you get him coming out to sort of give the old elbow thing? I don't know if that's part of the package.
I presume.
If you went there, Ronan, if you're a high enough celebrity, they let you do the salt. So if you went there, he'd definitely be saying, listen, you look after that. That's...
Yeah, it was...
It's weird.
Yeah, just the best of action on the pitch and the worst of action off the pitch, wasn't it? It was beyond cringe, some of the things, but yeah, obviously being in France, Mbappe was a big story here. And,
yeah. How is everybody? Funny, I've chatting to some French people since the... What are you grinning about?
No, I was just thinking, imagine for him scoring 4 goals in a World Cup final and you don't bring home the bacon.
Insane.
You know? It's
chatting to some French people. There was a lot of good analogy given the conversation.
Yes.
That and the gold.
As good as you were with, I was up late with the kids last night.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to explain the red eyes here, Ronan, and you'll.
Exactly.
You'll appreciate it.
Keep going anyway.
Chatting to some French people after the game, and they were surprisingly sort of like. Sanguine about it and accepting of the result in a way that I think if it was us, we'd be in a depression for about 6 months afterwards. But I suppose they're sort of there and thereabouts. What's the general reaction been around where you are with people sort of post World Cup? Are they just c'est la vie?
Yeah, that is the beauty of over in this country. There's obviously a new story, a new storm nearly the next day. So it just keeps rolling. I think obviously. I asked the players, I said, what happened France in the first half, you know? I just said, how do you make that out? And they just kind of said, ça c'est la France. Like, that's France, you know? And it was because if they played any way better than they did in the first 45 minutes, it was a big deficit they had to recuperate. But obviously, you know, I mean, even at 2-2, it was probably 5 minutes where it seemed Argentina were dead. Their legs were probably, but France didn't kick on again, you know.
Is there a culture of blame? I know in England, for example, you know, when Harry Kane misses the penalty, or even in the Euros when Rashford and Sancho and those lads missed the penalty in the shootout defeat against Italy. Is it the same in France? Like Tchouaméni and Coman missed the penalties in the shootout? Like,
no, it's bizarrely different and better in that regard. I think. Well, what I noticed from the RMC would be the kind of, I suppose, the big French sport radio station over here. Very, very good coverage, but I think they seem to be quite consistently harsh throughout the year, so there's no spiking. And that seems, while the World Cup is kept at the same level as, I suppose, any other sporting event, and the fact that they look for consistency of performance and they criticise a lot, but they also have some fantastic debate about, you know what I mean, just throwing items out there to discuss. And, you know, so there's obviously debate now about Deschamps or Zidane to who will coach for the next World Cup. And obviously Deschamps' record is incredibly good, but Zidane is very much, I suppose, the crowd favourite, the public's favourite. And it's fascinating radio listening to the whys and the whys not, and Benzema available for the final, why wasn't he brought in? So yeah, obviously a pretty luxury of resources in France at the minute, with the World Cup coming up in rugby as well, and excitement building with that. But the soccer team have been really interesting to follow.
What's the best seat in the Aviva?
You tried them all, I think.
But sure, it was whatever, like COVID rules, you know what I mean? So
were you just trying to get a good vantage, or what were you just? You were.
Yeah, but obviously, if you're behind the post, you can see where space is. That was always. So if I watch a captain run, that's where I'd watch a captain's run. Friday, like yesterday, for example, because you can see essentially you're square to the action. Yeah. So you see the outline of the pitch as the players see it. So it's very easy to see where space is. But yeah, as I said, it was probably our best 40 minutes and our worst 40 minutes. But the first 40 was pretty emphatic.
The venue uncertainty didn't do any harm in the end anyway. Was it? Did it make any difference to your planning, or was it just grand? We're there and on we go?
Oh no, of course it did, because we went up to the Kingspan and we flew into Belfast Airport and went directly from the airport to the ground. We weren't allowed on the pitch, obviously, but just to kind of give, I suppose, guys a mental picture of what would happen tomorrow. I think La Rochelle had played Ulster in 2017 or 19, I think. So a lot of the players would have been familiar, but it's a newish enough group, so it was in our planning to just go. But sure, the minute you got to Kingspan, it was particularly cold. It's in the shade, and by standing on the outskirts of the pitch, you knew straight away there was no chance this game is taking place here. So in the back of my mind, I was thinking, can we just wait in La Rochelle till we get a decision where the game is on? But no, I think we had to present. We were meant to meet the referee on Friday at the ground at 4:30, so we obliged with that. But I think everyone knew that the game was never going to be in the Kingspan.
Could you understand Ulster's frustrations, Ronan, or is it a case of when you're the opposition manager, well, you're not really caring or paying attention to that regardless?
No, but I suppose we got to control what we're controlling. If it was in La Rochelle, it wouldn't happen, because you obviously have to plan A, B and C. The weather is a big part of guaranteeing your income. So especially what we've gone through with COVID, there should have been provisional plans in place. No one likes to play in an empty stadium. It was just important for us that the game went ahead. But as competitors, we wanted to play in a packed out Kingspan. That's the reality. But I suppose a lot of the points in the coming up to the game didn't add up. So I think there was a few dots that weren't joined, and all of a sudden whatever, the ball had escaped out of the field, and it's too late. You can't get it back. You can't thaw the pitch in that amount of time.
You mentioned there about the best and worst half of rugby that you've played. Like, is there, looking at it feels like there's almost a natural momentum swing when the performance, obviously the points difference at half time, is that just something that's impossible to guard against, or are you looking at it like that natural momentum swing where Ulster obviously get fired up at half time, maybe your players take the foot off the gas a little bit because whatever it was it 29 points or whatever was between them at half time? Is that a natural momentum swing and you write it off that way, or are you looking at it saying, actually here were our markers A, B and C and we missed them?
No, yeah, I think there's a little bit of both. I think it's hard at 29-0 to kind of go, okay, this is a game is in the balance. You can't say that. Obviously, because of my lack of discipline, I can't give any messages at half time. So I am obviously the main culprit, and that's disappointing. So there's a loss of clarity coming from the head coach to what players want, but the assistant coaches can do that. And obviously Ulster, I think, were probably a little bit more accurate in the second half. We were a lot more inaccurate. So you compound the both of them with a few little, I suppose, emptying the bench maybe a bit. As you want, with the result probably not threatened, equaled to us giving up 4 tries, which is particularly disappointing.
Is there any of the, like, you're alluding to it there, but the enforced delegation almost that you have to do now because you can't be involved on match day? Is there any of that you're looking at the minute or talking to your coaches about has been a good thing for them? Like, obviously Donica is out front and centre after the game and he's doing the post-match interview and he's getting exposure to that end, and I'm sure the match day experience in a way that he wouldn't if you were about.
Am I after losing your sound?
Do you have me there?
Oh yeah, you're back. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I think it's like the match day experience is isn't as I suppose there are times like up to going into the changing room, I'm able to obviously converse and in the hotel and on the bus, and then. But once you take to the change room, for me, preparation should be done. I suppose what's critical is the 1 or 2 messages at half time. But as you say, Donica or Sebastian or Roman or Guto can easily give those messages. It's just that capacity to look people in the eye, to judge the body language of the group. And then as a result, maybe that's the best indicator for me to judge what your next word should be. So missing that is obviously very awkward and difficult, but I think sometimes we can overemphasize our importance. You know, at that time, it's very much the players, it's the leaders' time, and I remember that as a player myself. Yeah, you've got a good supporting coach, no matter who he is or how good he is, but it's essentially players' time.
Ronan, how did you find it? It was an interesting chat on one of our football shows, the kick-off yesterday with the former Irish international Keith Tracy. He was talking about being a professional sports person over Christmas and like sitting in hotel rooms and watching reruns of Only Fools and Horses and trying to pass the time as you hear the people, you know, partying on Stephen's Day or whatever down below. What was that like? I know for yourselves, example, you're away to Perpignan on New Year's Eve, but even as a player, you know, having a game on Stephen's Day and having to focus on training and matches around the Christmas time, how did you find it? Was it a good thing, or was it something you always felt you're missing out on something else?
No, I didn't. I suppose in the Munster team I played with, it was the big team at the time. There was huge privilege involved, and I suppose being grateful for it. For me, it was like I was kind of playing with my tormented mind. Should I be goal kicking? Should I be goal kicking on Christmas Day? I need to goal kick on Christmas morning. You know, that's how the mind fools you and saying that, oh God, I'm probably missing out on the reps that could cost you a final here. That's where I was for a long stage. Then you got a little bit of peace of mind and you could actually compartmentalise the role of sport in your life. But it's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever done in that regard. For me, it was essentially the family where your real family, but then your sporting family, which is Munster, the Ireland team, and I suppose the sacrifices involved with representing those two teams completely outweighed the sacrifices of having to miss out on nights out around Christmas time. And
so would you go out on Christmas Day for a bit of kicking practice ordinarily?
Yeah, I did early on, you know. I think probably from years maybe 20 to 27, I think, or 18 to 27. And then after a while you can actually understand yourself to know that you know I'm not going to be punished if I don't kick today. But it's all about you know what I mean, the inner voice talking to you.
Are you getting a few days off? Are you getting home after tonight? Or
yeah, I am. Yeah, it's great. We play tonight, and yeah, I can get home tomorrow through Nantes to London, and then London into Cork. So
for a few days.
Home. Yeah, home. It's great actually in France. You have to have compulsory 4 days off consecutively at Christmas, you know. So they really squeeze the prep for the next game, but that's a good thing too. It's kind of becomes like a barbarians week, you know. You just concentrate on the crucial things and get them right for an away performance, hopefully. Yeah, so we have the 24th, 25th, 26th, travel back to 27th and train the 28th, 29th, off the 30th, play the 31st. And then you roll into Toulouse, Ulster, Northampton, Racing, Lyon, and then that's the 5th of February for Six Nations games, the same day as we play Lyon. So it's getting exciting.
Just a bit busy as well. Did I see during the week there's been new flights, extra flights added from La Rochelle to Cork? This wasn't a direct request from you, Ronan, was it?
Yeah, it's fantastic, no, because that's. But I think it's with an asterisk, so we have to talk to Michael O'Leary. I think it's only for May, June, and July. Is it, or June, July, August? Which,
for the hot months, right.
Well, yeah, which suits the man to your left very well.
We're already in negotiations about next summer. I might be on to you.
Cheese and wine.
Yeah.
What's the? Will you bring the laptop with you, or you'll do a bit?
Oh God, yeah. That's the office. You know, laptop and phone is all you need as a manager.
Yeah. So what sort of stuff will you squirrel away a few hours here and there, or what sort of stuff is it opposition work, or what can you do when you're away from the group like that?
No, it's just keeping an eye on, is everyone ticking over, you know. Obviously for 2 days there'll probably be nothing going on, but like, you got to remember we have some guys are short-term injuries, sometimes long-term injuries, a little bit of where you've got to manage. For example, like Astoy and Dante and Remy Bordeaux are on holidays this week because of just, I suppose, the unrelenting nature of the programme, you know. But so every person is very different in how you set up your team, and the championship is obviously tight, so results become important, even though obviously you want to just focus on performance. So it's just a little bit of trying to find, I suppose, balance with everything.
It'll be a very special few days for you. You don't get home that often.
No, it'll be great. Exactly. Can't wait for it.
Will it be what's your Christmas movie of choice, Ronan? Is it a Home Alone?
Oh no,
Die Hard?
No, it's terrible. I don't do movies. The only thing I do is sport, you know, or sport movies. But
right.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'll watch the darts all day. That's why I should listen to
you.
Will you?
Good man.
Yeah, my granny was a massive fan of snooker, so I grew up watching Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry and Dennis Taylor, and obviously Ronnie O'Sullivan still is a particular freak, isn't he, in what he can do on a snooker table. So yeah, I admire just their capacity to perform. It's a fascinating subject. I think the top 6 inches in a snooker person's mindset.
We've got plenty of snooker and darts in the rest of the show. We'll get a trip to. I'm heading over to the Crucible for the 3rd time now in April, Ronan. We'll get a few frames in. We'll get Ronnie to show us around.
Who's your favourite player?
Ronnie, by a country mile. Yeah.
He's interviewed Ronnie. He sat down with him, Ronan. So even if he wasn't as amazing, he wasn't. He gave him some time. That's
give him some time. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see him here, but the smile that came in his face when you said you were going to be watching the darts was off the charts here.
Snooker as well, Jesus. If let's take it to another level.
Yeah, just the accuracy involved is fascinating.
Well, we've kind of had a discussion on the show that came up, which is the tougher skill, the 147, the 9 darter, or the hole-in-one in golf. It's kind of led to an interesting one. It's Sean Murphy, I think, is the only person who's claimed.
Yeah, I saw that, but like a hole-in-one is
freakish.
Obviously correct, but like 147 isn't, or hitting a 9 darter is the leader, isn't it? That's just repetitive perfection.
Enjoy the break. Thanks for everything over the year.
Cheers, Ronan.
Good man.
Look
forward to chatting to you soon.
Cheers.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, happy Christmas. Ronan O'Gara on the line there from La Rochelle in the busy little time ahead. I wasn't even looking at you, and I could see the grin coming on when he mentions the darts.
Didn't realise he was a snooker fan either.
No,
that's
at all.
We'll have to do a snooker only chat with Ronan at some point, and maybe a bit of darts as well. That's class. But when you look at, it's no surprise because when Ronan was involved in a team sport, but when you're a kicker, especially, there is an individual element to that. And you probably look at people like Ronnie O'Sullivan, who excel so much at the psychological element of individual sports. So I think he probably takes little bits of nuggets from people like Ronnie O'Sullivan, tries to adopt it in his own game. But as he said, the top 6 inches of their thinking, for a darts player or a snooker player who are in a sport that takes so much concentration, and similarly to Ronan as well. I think elite appreciates elite, and that's probably an element of it there.
Okay, it is exactly 8:15. You're watching OTB AM, and happy Christmas to you, wherever it is you're at, or out and about the country, or indeed beyond, as we've had some international comments in already this morning. Happy Christmas to you. I hope you have a few days off and you get to enjoy it at home, as Ronan's been talking about there. Loads still to come. Our panel is going to reconvene in a few minutes' time. Not 100% sure what we're going to be talking about, but we'll discover all that shortly. But if you're looking for something to do over the Christmas holidays, my old footballer Paddy Durkin, alongside his brothers Mark and James, are running a charity golf AM at Castlebar Golf Club on December the 29th and 30th. Fundraiser is in aid of Lower Lakeland's Respite Home. It's part of the Western Care Association, and the format is Champagne Scramble. Teams of 4. It's €80 a team to enter. Lots of great prizes to be won, and of course great cause to support there as well. There's a GoFundMe page as well. If you can't make the event but you'd like to donate, you can just find out more details on the Castlebar Mitchell's social channels. More to come. See you the other side of the break. We're going to have Shane's top 5 snooker moments.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
OTB GAA.
Roscommon is football mad, like.
Oh yeah, they're mental about it. I was sitting in a petrol station last night in Roscommon, and oh mother of God, the window got tapped 3 times in 10 minutes. They are.
That was the one lad.
They're mental about it. Yeah.
Don't go to Rockford now until you win something.
Yeah, we'll hold off. Yeah.
Subscribe to the OTB GAA podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a sports fanatic who loves to travel? Then sportspass.ie is for you. Log on for the chance to win the trip of a lifetime in 2023 to a top global sporting event. 8 winners get to choose from 12 incredible prizes, including trips to the Women's World Cup in Australia, the Super Bowl, the Masters and WrestleMania. All prizes include return flights, accommodation and tickets for 2 people from anywhere in the world. That's sportspass.ie. You win, you choose. OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
17 minutes past 8. It is OTB AM, and we're delighted to be with you on this Friday morning. I'd say most people are probably clocked off at this stage for the festivities.
Everyone's brain.
The holidays.
Yeah, I think it's...
Call them that?
Mentally. The holidays, yeah, of course. I think everyone, from about a week ago maybe, had mentally clocked
It's officially
off.
like a non-work day though, if I'm right.
Today is.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
What are we doing here?
Should we just go?
So what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Shane's top 5 snooker moments of the year.
Yeah. So there's been plenty that's happened, Adrian. I know you've been keeping a keen eye on it. I know for sure Ronan O'Gara has. Yeah. Been keeping a keen eye on action. It's been a great year for snooker. So I just wanted to pick kind of 5 of the moments that really stood out to me. The first one was Ronnie O'Sullivan. I mean, it's a nice segue from the chat we just had with Ronan. That hug that you see on the screen with himself and Joe Trump lasted an uncomfortable amount of time. This was after Ronnie equalled Stephen Hendry's. And look at the emotion on his face. He's bawling, crying, and that's an emotion you don't see from Ronnie too often with his 2 kids. After creating history, he like a 7th world title. If there was any discussion as to who is the greatest of all time, he's ahead of Stephen Hendry in most of the other records in terms of centuries and 147s, ranking titles. He's now level with him in World Championships. So I think the discussion, the argument as to who the greatest of all time is, finished there. So he equalled Steve Davis's record of 30 Crucible appearances, a 20th quarter-final, a record 13th semi-final earlier this year, and then beating Joe Trump comfortably as well, 18-13 in the final at the Crucible in Sheffield, a 39th ranking title and a 21st Triple Crown title. So a Triple Crown is a World Championship, a UK Championship or a Masters. And the famous Ray Reardon beating a record of his. So Ronnie was 46 years and 148 days, so the oldest world champion in the sport's history, surpassing Ray Reardon's record from 1978.
He's like Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry rolled into one, isn't he?
He is.
Like, you get the entertainment and the success. He's like the ideal person that you want.
Exactly, because Jimmy White famously, of course, losing 6 world finals and never becoming a world champion. But that emotion, that's a side we never really saw from Ronnie O'Sullivan. There was a Netflix crew, certainly a camera crew following it.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So
was that never came
no,
to
there has been a
the end,
Eurosport documentary that was brilliant, where he sat
What's
down.
the story with that? Is it just sitting in the...
It's sitting in the ether. I don't know if there's a release date or what the plan is for it, but I look forward to seeing it when it's eventually released. I think he's probably the most talented sports person I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like supremely, the fact that you can play with both hands so comfortably and switch back and forth. He takes the game not seriously at times, and then he takes it very seriously. But for me,
how is he viewed by his fellow pros? I often wonder.
I think it comes and goes in waves. Some of them think he's disrespectful, but they should all be very thankful to Ronnie O'Sullivan, because the interest levels he brings to the game, the extra money he brings into the game, and interest from outside. Is he bigger than the sport? Probably. Most people on the street would probably know of Ronnie O'Sullivan, whereas try and name 3 other snooker players and they'll struggle. It's not like the heyday of the 80s where you had 18.5 million people watching that black ball final between Davis and Taylor. I mean, don't know if those days will ever return, because there's a number of reasons for that. Like snooker halls in Dublin and other cities across Ireland aren't as common as they were, because the space it takes to have, say, 6 to 8 snooker tables.
Do you play?
Look, I play, but I'm terrible.
How many 147s have you had?
Jesus! Just stop. How many 14 breaks have I had? Is a better question.
Is this a list? Are you giving us a reverse list here, or is this just random?
It's just
so
random.
That's 5, is it?
Just random. So there's no order to this. But It was probably my favourite moment of the year, I have to say. Jimmy White. So Jimmy White had a bit of a angry discussion with the referee earlier this year. So he was given a verbal warning. This was during the Northern Ireland Open up in Belfast. The Welsh referee Ben Williams. Basically, he was playing Luca Brissell. It was during the 4th frame of the match. White nominated the brown ball. So sometimes when there's 2 balls kind of relatively close together, the player, when they're getting down, will just say out loud which ball they're intending to hit, even though Jimmy White is so good that the referee can just assume that he's going to hit the ball he's aiming for. But just out of courtesy, he said brown ball, and then Williams repeated back as the referee does. Blue ball. Jimmy, angry, turns around and said, I said brown. But it was what happened next that kind of pissed off Jimmy White. So the referee starts laughing at his own mistake, and it was quite a tense moment in the match. When I first saw this, I thought Jimmy was out of line. I was thinking, he said, "What are you laughing at?" And it felt a bit stern and tense from Jimmy. But then if you watch it back, it's a very tense moment in the match. The referee's laughing. The referee should just say apologies, Jimmy.
I think it was. I have watched. It's like a nervous laughter.
It is a nervous laughter.
He's not laughing at him. He's like, oh crap. Okay. I did think that Jimmy White's reaction was totally uncalled for.
Yeah,
there's no need to be an asshole about it.
No, I think the referee then maybe unnecessarily gave Jimmy a bit of a warning. He said Jimmy held up his finger.
Yeah, but he was like he was basically verbally abusing him.
I don't know if that's a bit of a stretch. I think Jimmy
he was giving it the big one.
I think it's a moment of concentration of and there's a lot of money on the line as well for Jimmy. I think the referee sometimes needs to be aware of the situation they're in, and
he could have just said, "Here, actually, I called Brown. I don't appreciate you laughing about it," and it's not the way he went about it.
Yeah, I think the referee was embarrassed, and that's why maybe he handed out the warning. I think
it was a nervous. I think it was a nervous laughter to begin with, and then but I think after that he went back into serious mode and was like, "You can't speak to me like that."
Yeah.
And I think that's fair enough. Yeah. The referee has got to be, particularly in a sport like that, like in any sport.
There was the quote from Ronnie O'Sullivan was on Eurosport that day. He is very good friends with Jimmy White, but he said about it, I can see why Jimmy hasn't seen the funny side of it. He's having a hard time out there. He's not playing well. Jimmy has walked around here, so it might look like he's looking at the blue. The referee has jumped the gun. And so he says the referee starts laughing. Jimmy goes like that with his hand, and he's done nothing with his hand apart from to say, "What's going on? I don't need this." He's warned him, and you just think it's uncalled for, really. So that was Ronnie's take, but it was just one of those moments that stood out, and everyone was like, "Oh Jesus, snooker can get touchy." I wanted to use this as an excuse.
Snooker can get
it can get touchy.
It can.
Let me tell you, Adrian.
Right. What else we got?
There's an excuse to play this video. So we were talking about Steve Davis in the 80s and Ronnie O'Sullivan and the heroes. This is a great clip, and it's Christmas time. I just wanted to play this again. It's my chat with Ronnie and Jimmy White in Drogheda. They were over for an exhibition. There's one little F-bomb in here, so if there's any sensitive ears, maybe cover them just for the next 30 seconds or so. But it's 2 lads talking about Steve Davis in the 80s, what sort of character he was. He was boring, but set the way and kind of laid the foundations for both of them, I guess. Have a listen.
But the best quote, you said of Steve Davis: "Steve would happily sit in his room and play chess or a board game, whereas I'd be out somewhere causing murder. I like to dabble, he liked to scrabble."
Yeah,
sure. I love that quote.
Yeah, but but honestly, he was so He was so,
Ronnie says boring.
He was, but he was like, he was unbelievable, switched on. Everything he done, it was all like, even checking in a hotel, it was all pre-arranged. Everything was like just mad with him. He just used to think, for fuck's sake, love yourself.
This is a brilliant one. I don't know if you might have read it, but first time I was only 17, had to go on tour with Davis to Thailand. So I get picked up. I'm going to try and cut it as short as I can. Go to Steve Davis' house, he gets in the car, he goes, hello, alright, gets his computer out, doesn't speak to me towards me, get to the airport, we check in, still doesn't talk to me, gets to the lounge, gets his laptop out, still doesn't talk to me, get on the plane, 13 hours to Thailand, gets on his computer, like that for 10 hours, get off the plane, in the cab, back on his laptop, get to the hotel in Thailand, check in, still hasn't said nothing to me, get to the hotel room, he goes up Ronan O'Gara, he goes, right, see you later. That was 20 hours. I said he must be so comfortable in his own skin, he doesn't feel the need to actually make small conversation. And since that day, I've loved him ever more. He's total blanked me for 20 hours. You know, a young 17-year-old in awe of the nugget, and he's gone, have some of that. That was one of the best lessons I've ever had. So I want to thank you, the nugget, for teaching me how to be comfortable in your own skin.
There was a lot of library.
What's it like to be sat there with like the greatest snooker player of all time with his arm resting on your shoulder?
Well, you can imagine how I'm freaking out inside, obviously. And then just have Jimmy White as well.
You're like, I'm not even hearing what's going on around anymore. I just know Ronnie is leaning on me, and this is cool.
It was the greatest day ever. And just to be sitting between probably my two favourite players of all time. The full video's on YouTube as well if you search Jimmy White, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Were they like, there's a round table over here and we could all sit down, and you're like, no.
Let's sit right here. Yeah. There was a few people behind, kind of maybe 5 or 6 people sitting watching as well. It was like a little audience there. I think they were playing up to the audience a little bit as well. That mug he held up at the end, little green mug that said numpties on it, which was his way of describing the lower down players on the tour that aren't as good as him. Because there's some events where there's maybe 16 players or 32. There's others where there's 128. And he called some of the lower down players numpties, which he's got in trouble for in the past. But yeah, that was my second moment.
It's all good. What else have we got?
A bit of a downbeat moment in the last couple of weeks. The Chinese snooker stars being suspended amid a corruption investigation. So Yan Bingtiao being one of these players, joining a growing list of Chinese players to get suspended by the sports governing body as part of a corruption investigation. So there's accusations of players. So recently 5 other Chinese players suspended by World Snooker Tour followed the suspension of countryman Liang Wenbo on October 27th. This is on allegations of manipulating matches for betting purposes. So, I mean, snooker is one of the most popular sports in China, and there has never been a world champion from China, but I think that day is coming down the tracks sooner rather than later. It was the 7th such suspension against the Chinese player in a matter of weeks on suspicion of manipulating games for the benefit of matches. Doesn't necessarily mean losing matches on purpose. Past cases have involved heavily favoured players accepting money in return for ensuring they lose at least a certain number of frames during a match that they ultimately win against an inferior player. So it could be winning 4-1 as opposed to 4-0. And yeah, I've seen some of the videos of matches where this match fixing is alleged to have occurred, and it's marginal. Snooker players are so talented, they can miss a pot by a tiniest of margin and hit the jaws and do it on purpose, because they don't just pot a ball, they pot the ball into the part of the pocket that they want to pot it. So it's all a bit suspicious. And look, these suspensions, at least World Snooker have clamped down fairly quickly on it. But yeah, I put it in one of my top moments, but it's certainly a darker moment for snooker over the last year. So the fourth moment is it was a good moment for Irish people, because Mark Allen becoming the UK champion, rallying from 6-1 down, there he is on screen, to defeat Ding Junhui 10-7 from 6-1 down to win the UK Championship final in York. As I said, it's one of those majors. Northern Irishman claiming an 8th ranking title, second Triple Crown. He won the 2018 Masters as well, taking the winner's cheque of £250,000, his second ranking title of the season. He also won the Northern Ireland Open this season, Mark Allen. Even his semi-final was brilliant at that tournament. He fought back from 5-3 down to beat Jack Langston 6-5 on the final black, an epic semi-final, and then the comeback skills were on show again in that final against Ding. And look, he's had significant weight loss over the last year or so, Mark Allen. It was very apparent if you've seen the old photos of Mark Allen and now. He says, I did it for my life, not just for snooker. Ronnie O'Sullivan actually helped him a lot. Ronnie's a big fitness freak and into his diet and nutrition as well. and kind of sat down with him. He was 19 stone, Mark Allen, when he competed at the World Championship back in Sheffield in May. But all these lifestyle changes have led to him losing stone upon stone, and it's clearly paying off for him because he's had personal problems. He's talked about being in bankruptcy and that sort of thing, so he's really come out the other side and playing a really good snooker at the moment. So that was another one of my moments of 2022. And the final one that I've picked, Adrian, this morning, is Mark Selby. So he won the English Open there very recently. There he is with his daughter and his wife Vicky. He's had very tough times, Mark Selby, over the last while or so. He opened up in January about his mental health struggles and how he's really had a seriously tough time. And look, tough times don't last, tough people do. And Mark Selby is a tough person. A drinking game during snooker matches where Mark Selby is involved is the word granite. Every time the word granite is used about Mark Selby, take a drink and you'll be fairly well oiled by the end of the match. It was his first title in 20 months. He beat Luca Bracel at the English Open. The only player to lift the Davis Trophy twice now, with a 9-6 win against Luca Bracel. But it was more Selby's the story, because he played brilliantly well. He welled up as he thanked his wife Vicky afterwards. He said, "It's not been easy, probably the biggest challenge of my life. So coming out here and winning a tournament is incredible, really. I've been suffering for a few years silently. Only Vicky and my family really knew, and it's been tough from January trying to get myself back on my feet." And he says there's not enough words he can say about his wife. If it wasn't for her, I definitely wouldn't be stood here today, that's for sure. So Mark Selby, I think is he a 4-time world champion? But an incredible story to come back from the brink and win his first title in 20 months. So definitely one of the stories.
Redemption story.
Exactly.
Before you introduce us to our next guest, and we're shifting from one of your favourite sports to another one, your main snooker hope for 2023?
Oh, Ronnie O'Sullivan to win an 8th.
Okay.
He's not confirmed whether he's going to actually turn up and do it. He says, look,
does he not say that every year?
He does, yeah. It's tiring. It's a 17-day slog, so it's not one of those shorter tournaments. But look, he's clearly in the right mind frame to win it if he wants to. If he wants to show up, and the way he's treating snooker at the minute is he actually prefers doing the punditry work, it seems.
Right.
But he's enjoying his practice at the moment. I would love to see him do number 8.
You said you were going over some of it?
Yeah, I think I'll get over. I was over in 2019 and 2018 and 2019, the years Williams and Trump won. So yeah, definitely going to get back over. COVID kind of played havoc with it. Couldn't get over for a couple of years.
The final, or what do you think?
I'd love to get over for the final. Whatever the press corps will take me for.
You're going over and like, I'm covering, I'm working.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you might get a couple of more interviews like that. Cushy chats, fireside chats with Ronnie. I mean, why not? With the arm around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're my top 5 snooker moments of 2022.
Very good. On to the darts.
And delighted to welcome Jack Langston. Jack is from the Darts podcast, former darts referee as well. Morning, Jack. How are things?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy time for yourselves in the darts game. How are you enjoying the tournament so far? The PDC World Championship at Ali Pali. It's going quite well. The interest levels are there.
Yeah, it's been an interesting tournament so far. There's not been too many upsets. I think we had our first proper upset last night with James Wade losing, but it's been not too bad. Couple of 9 dart attempts, so hopefully we get one of them soon. But yeah, it's been all right.
We usually get 9 darters, don't we, in the World Snooker or the World Darts Championship? Like it's the way I guess the quality level has risen over the years. It's almost now expected.
Yeah. There's, I mean, back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, if you got a 9 darter, you were extremely lucky to see one. And nowadays, like there's probably going to be like 2 or 3 most big tournaments now in the World Championships, especially with so many games played. There's often a good few 9 darters. So yeah, hopefully we get one soon.
How did you get into darts yourself, Jack? I know you were a referee on the tour for a bit as well. Like how did your interest, I guess, kick off?
It was just a case of I used to watch my granddad play. He used to have a dartboard in his garage, and I used to just watch him play. And then like one of my earliest memories just of life was watching darts, and it's just one of those things where I just grew up around it. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew to the point where, yeah, this is something that I want my career to be. So darts is just something that has just always been around, and I've just always enjoyed watching and playing and competing in darts.
Did you prefer playing or refereeing?
I actually prefer refereeing. I'm not the best player in the world, but I would consider myself to be a pretty good referee. So yeah, I think playing against your friends down the pub and stuff is all good and fun, but when you're a proper darts enthusiast and you get to go and referee for like the best players in the world. I mean, like the biggest celebrities to me were always dart players. They were like the biggest names I could ever meet. And then one day you turn up to a venue and every single player that you know is in the room and you're marking for them. It was just the coolest thing. So I'd actually probably say refereeing. Did you have favourite players growing up? Yeah. Adrian Lewis has been my favourite since I was probably about 13 or 14 years old. And it's never changed. Still my favourite. Not as good as he used to be now, but I'll still cheer him on. Have you noticed an increased interest in the sport over the last number of years? Like you've got serious numbers on your YouTube channel and your social media accounts as well. Clearly, the interest levels are there, but it seems like one of those sports that has certainly grown over the last number of years. Yeah, massively. I mean, it's one of those things where when I was at school and stuff, and I was playing darts, like I had one friend at school who, I only really knew one person who actually had any interest in darts, and it was kind of like he'd watch it sometimes because his dad played, and that was it. And nowadays, I would imagine there are a lot of schools will go back and they'll be talking about who won the world championships, and there's so many teams now as well. I mean, I think when I first started playing, there was like one league in our Friday night pub league, and maybe about eight teams. And that was it. And nowadays, I think there's about 5 leagues now. It's just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And obviously, I guess as far as like the social media goes as well, it just keeps growing. And it's one of the most watched sports on Sky Sports as well. I think it's like number 2. And I think it's just going to keep going. How do you feel the quality of the sport has improved? Because you look at the averages year on year of the PDC World Championships, and it's clearly only going one way. I'm sure it's linked quite closely to the increased cash on offer. It's $500,000 for the winner, so no small change. Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the amount of money that you can earn from being a professional dart player now, it makes sense to put the time in. I mean, they're like back in the day when darts was kind of like on TV once or twice a year, and it was like the standard wasn't as high. The players then they still had regular jobs, a lot of them, so they didn't have the time to practice, didn't have the motivation to practice as much as well, because I mean it was just kind of like on TV once a year sometimes, and also the equipment has got so much better now than it was back then that you can hit more of treble 20s. Your darts are staying in the board better. Your darts are slightly smaller than they used to be, and there's just so many like new things that, I mean, 20 years ago you'd never even imagine would be in the game of darts. And now, it's just growing and growing, and the players are getting better and better. And it's good to see. Really fun to watch. For this year's edition of the championship, Jack, I guess we're over here. We're keeping a keen eye and close interest on the Irish players. Disappointing exit for Keane Barry. Disappointing performance generally, actually, in the first round for him. We've got Brendan Dolan against Jimi Hendrix today, which should be a decent game. He's going to have to hit the right chords to win that one. It's we're hoping for some Irish interest. Who do you think can really push on and maybe get further on to the tournament? Yeah, I think the obvious answer is Josh Rock. He's the 4th favourite to win this tournament, which is absolutely unbelievable for someone who's 21, World Championship debut. Is he a genuine contender, Jack, do you think? Huh? Is Josh a genuine contender, do you believe? I don't think his odds back his realistic chances. I don't think he's the 4th most likely player to win the tournament. But I definitely think in the next few years he'll be one of the. He could be, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he could be one of the top favourites. I mean, the year he's had is unbelievable for a first time tour card holder in their first year, 21 years old. He'll definitely be a contender in the future. And I mean, the bookies think he's a contender this time. So, he's definitely turning a few heads. That's for sure. I think to be so good at an individual sport at a young age, like 21, I'm sure it takes a lot of mental fortitude. Like, there's a certain sense of arrogance and cockiness almost from Josh that you probably need to have at the top of the game, Jack. It's definitely a confidence game. You hear Michael Van Gerwen, one of the best players to ever play the game, when he does his interviews, he talks about confidence, and it's just something that you need to have. If you're not confident up there, it's just not going to go your way. So yeah, all of these like big checkouts and massive celebrations and stuff, you can tell when someone's confident. And yeah, Josh is definitely confident, especially after the 9 darter he hit about a month ago. But yeah, he's definitely confident, and I look forward to seeing how he does for the rest of the tournament.
You mentioned Michael van Gerwen there, Jack. I mean, he was imperious in his opening round win against Louis Williams, dropping just one leg on the way to that 3-0 win. Just how good is he playing right now? Yeah,
I mean, Louis didn't play the best. I was a bit gutted for him. I really like watching Louis play, but Michael van Gerwen just did Michael van Gerwen things. I think most people expected him just to turn up, sort of, because the standard there'd only been like 100 plus average at that point, and he turned up and hits like 102, 103, something like that. Might be a little bit higher than that. And yeah, he's on good form. He's won 3 of the biggest tournaments this year. Everyone keeps sort of forgetting about him, but they're sort of finally talking about him this time of year. And rightfully favourite. He's my pick to win this tournament. And yeah, he's coming in with some good form. Peter Wright's not playing the best. Michael Smith is in good form as well, and so is Price, kind of. So I feel like Van Gerwen's the rightful favourite, and he's my pick to win the tournament.
It's a great match for the fans. Next up, with Van Gerwen playing Raymond van Barneveld, like, sounds by what you're saying, you can't see Barney causing an upset, but I mean, he can hopefully make a match out of it at least. Yeah,
I just think, I mean, I've had so many people, because I'd sort of like live stream when the matches are on, and I've so many people saying, "Oh, Barney's going to beat Price in the next round," and I just can't see it happening. But again, like, I couldn't see James Wade losing yesterday happening. I was a bit surprised by that. There's been a few games where I've been surprised by the outcome, and that's just part of the World Championships. Barney is a extremely good big stage player. He might not be as good as Gerwyn Price. I mean, if it was a floor tournament, I'd expect Gerwyn Price to win 9 times out of 10, but it's not. It's the World Championships, and you never know. I mean, it's going to be first of 4 sets in that round. If Barney can get a couple of early breaks and stuff, he could go 2-0 up, and then all of a sudden Gerwyn Price in a bit of trouble. So could win. I'm not backing him to win, but it's definitely doable. Yeah.
It's funny, Jack, they've seen some controversy. The choice of arrows for certain players seems quite important. Simon Whitlock out of the tournament now, but a lot of talk on social media about how his darts were butchering the board, essentially, and you could see the damage even on the TV screens, what they were doing to the board. But I've even heard Wayne Mardle talking about, banning Simon Whitlock's darts. Is it a controversy that seems to rear its head every now and again?
Yes, it's been a talking point for probably the last 3 or 4 years now. So they've just swapped this last year. They've just swapped to a different board manufacturer, and before the old manufacturer was a company called Unicorn, and their boards used to get beat up whenever Simon Whitlock would play on them. And the problem is, it is the darts, but it's just the point piece of the dart for Simon Whitlock. I believe he uses like a wood file instead of like a regular dart point, which means that when he pulls his darts out of the board, the little fibres of the board sort of come with it a little bit, which is why you get all of them white little bits of string that looks like they're on the board. And yeah, it's just getting to the point now where I think that eventually it's going to start causing an opponent to miss. I mean, at the moment, it just looks bad, but it's not affecting the play. Like, no one's having more darts fall out of the board because Simon Whitlock's kind of like battered the board a little bit. But I think eventually there's going to come a time where it's going to be a longer format game. Like, if he gets to like the semi-final or something, I mean, he's out of this World Championship, but if he ever got to like the semi-final and they had to play like 11 sets on the same board and Whitlock's using them points, I think eventually it's going to come to the point where the board surface is unplayable, and they're going to have to get a new board, or there's going to be a set or something where his opponent's missing darts, or darts are falling out that they normally wouldn't. And yeah, I do think eventually they're going to have to do something and change the rules on the points and stuff, because they're just too much, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good on the board sponsors as far as the PDC goes, because their boards, I mean, they've had a couple of hundred darts put in them, and they look like they've been played on for years. And so I think eventually there will be some sort of regulation come in for points, but at the moment there isn't one, and it does baffle me a little bit that there isn't one, but we'll see.
Watch this space. Finally, Jack, talk to us about Ali Pally, because I've never been, but the pictures on screen at Alexandra Palace, it just looks like an absolutely manic atmosphere. People on the beer, clearly from early on in the morning into the afternoon session, and then the evening session. You've got the fancy dress, the songs, the walk-ons. What's it like to be there? It must be an incredible atmosphere in a sporting sense. Yeah, it's a different atmosphere to a lot of the other tournaments. So because it's the Ali Pally, because it's like the main darts tournament of the year, everyone sees it on TV and everyone thinks, oh, I want to go and watch that. It's more of like I don't want to call them casuals, but I'm gonna have to call them casuals. It's more of like a casual dart fan experience, where the experience isn't all about the darts. It's about having a good time, having fun. And sort of like, it's something that you go on your work Christmas do or something, or you go with your mates or something. Maybe your mates aren't interested in darts, but so it's a little bit of a different atmosphere to say like the match play, which is more of like a serious dart fan sort of tournament. But it's really fun. It is a good laugh. Everyone's on the beers. Everyone's chanting and cheering. I think there's a lot of talk about there being too much chanting and cheering, but to be completely honest, I mean, it's Christmas, everyone's having fun, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But the tournament's it's a very, very, very good one to go to if you just want to go and have a laugh with your mates or something, or go and experience something that it's a bit outside the norm. But it's a good venue, good tournament, fun to be there, and it's really good. 100%. It's on my bucket list anyway, for sure. Jack, you've been great with your time this morning. Thanks a million. Enjoy the rest of the tournament.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Jack Langston.
I was at the darts a couple of years ago.
You were at it? Oh, in Dublin?
In the 3 Arena,
World Grand Prix of darts. Yeah. Was it like?
Yeah.
You see,
there's not like
the 3 Arena is a different.
You
kind
might
of
be watching. You could be watching darts. You could be watching the darts being streamed from somewhere else. Like,
it's more about the atmosphere.
You can't. There's nothing you can see really. It's not like you're looking at the screen all the time. Like, you're so far removed, particularly a venue like the 3 Arena. You're so far removed from being able to see what's actually happening. All you're doing is looking at the screen.
Yeah, maybe not the best in-person fan experience. Well, sorry, for the crack and the fun, I'm sure it's.
No, it was definitely from that point of view. Yeah, definitely.
It's good. Ticks all the boxes. From a sporting sense, I guess, if there's a 9-darter or some mad moment. I think Simon Whitlock, we mentioned there, had a 170 checkout in Dublin at one stage to win a match. That sort of thing, at least you can say you were there. If something mad happens.
I have a question for you. Would you still have the passion for darts sans the crowd?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, because over COVID, the World Championship was in front of no crowd. They had the crowd noises and stuff, and you didn't have the madness in the background, but you still get lured in by the match itself. I find myself, even if you're not supporting someone, if you pick someone in a match and you're like, I'm following them. Like, there was the mullet yesterday, the guy with the mullet. I mean, Danny Jansen, and
he's grabbed my attention, I must say.
He's been knocked out now, which makes me sad.
Mullet.
But
you need to put your microphone in the middle of your jumper there.
Who said that?
Me.
I don't see any notes from Jojo.
Live on air production. No, I think I would. I love darts for what it is. Sport in its purest form, up there with snooker as well. See, me and Ronan O'Gara, we just get it, lads.
Yeah.
Some of you don't get it. That's fine. You'll never get it.
What are we doing here?
Well, that's a big question.
Jeez.
And you ask yourself that every Friday.
That's a wonderful life moment.
I mean,
is this a philosophical question?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
How many countries have you set foot in?
Where are we going with this one? Like?
How many countries have you set foot in your life?
You've asked me this question before we came on air. I said I thought it was about 20.
And
then I looked at the map, and I figure I will actually go away later on today and come back to you with a definitive answer, but I think it's about 37.
That's incredible if you think about it.
37?
You've set foot in 37 countries.
Oh, I'd say I've set foot in more countries just with stopovers and stuff, but I've sort of only counting
airports and obviously any time that on transport don't count. You have to set foot on the land of the country.
37.
Right?
Yeah, the cold hard land. Yeah, I think airports don't count.
Admittedly, lads, I have a few years on you, so
yeah.
No, it's still though. That's nearly your age. a country
It's
for every
nearly
year.
my age. I wish it was
Nearly
in
a country
the
for every
reverse
year.
sense, yeah.
Well, for example, I would love to put Singapore on my list, but I can't because I was only in the airport.
And the same for Ethiopia. Yeah, only in the airport, so I can't really count it.
What's your number?
I think it's 17 only, and I really thought I had been to a lot. But at the same time, that's a fair bit. At the same time,
Not
like
bad.
it's not bad, you know. It's not bad now.
No, it's decent.
What's
Shane?
the most niche country that you say? Just before I get on to say, what's the most niche country?
What
in
is a
27?
niche country?
You know, it's a small country or a country that you wouldn't typically travel.
I would say maybe Cuba.
Oh yeah,
People
Pretty
do travel there.
That's niche, yeah,
the
yeah.
Maldives would be another one. Like these are they're obviously touristy places.
Yeah. No, Cuba's meant to be fascinating.
Cuba at that time was incredible because it was before. There was at some point after we were there. There was a lot of rumours about Castro and is he still alive? Maybe he's left us. And the brother was sort of in quasi power. Raul, come on, Shane. And so there were sort of a lot
Not the
of
Real Madrid striker,
Yeah, I
of
was going to
course.
say,
then
God,
they were sort of like there was a bit of advertising was starting to slip into, because you go out there and you would walk. That's one of the joys, certainly at that time, of walking around Cuba, that you wouldn't see an ad. Like there just was none of this commercialism, none of these like high streets where you see all the regular shops. That was one of the many big charms of the place.
Is there a love of boxing obvious when you're there, or is it just a hidden aspect?
No, I think certainly didn't go looking for it, and I'm sure if you went looking for it, you'd find it. But just really, like, you know, there's so many countries that you would go to that don't really feel like a culture shock, because it feels like, you know, even places like, let's say, Hong Kong or mainland China to a lesser degree, but
Western
Cuba
influence
is definitely a place where you go. It's a bit like Inishbofin. You go, wow, it's a very different experience.
That's the thing. I don't think. Well, maybe Cuba might be like that, or some countries in Africa. Potentially, but I don't think for like my generation that's ever going to be quite the same kind of culture shock that would have been even 10 or 20 years ago. My aunt went to Japan when she was around my age, and this was like back in the late 90s, and she said when you get off the plane, everything is just so like you've no reference point really. You were just landed in this place and everything just seems so alien.
You're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
JP Wright there in the comments has mentioned that baseball is massive in Cuba. Did you get that sense?
Oh yeah.
You can tell that it's a big thing. Like, there's a weird sort of dichotomy over there with the fact that there's such tension between themselves and the US.
It's crazy.
And yet baseball is such an amazing sport. And there's like, when you start to read up and look at the stuff about like the way the regime has treated people who've tried to escape the country and stuff like that, there's a lot of romanticism about Cuba, and then there's another side to it that's quite grim on a level.
This all started because Shane Hannon was leaving the office yesterday, and he had just had that look, like, asking me questions about myself.
Oh wow!
Did I have that look?
Yeah. So I said, I was like,
it's a very vain look to give.
No, but it was welcoming.
Okay,
yeah. And you're a man of the world, I would describe. And then
not
I was
as much
thinking,
as Adrian Barry, but
yeah, you would really surprise me.
I have years on you, lads.
You're big on that, but that doesn't mean you can do nothing with your ears.
Yeah.
You should give yourself more credit.
It's true. I've done 20 of the 44 European countries I've worked out, and then you have USA, Canada, Tanzania on top of that. I haven't been, like, that's only 20, 23, 24.
You need to get outside Europe, is what I'm hearing.
Essentially. Although I've done a lot of USA travelling.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of the States.
Is this a quality, not quantity thing? Like, the more niche you can go.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Work would have taken me to a lot of countries with coverage of football.
Yeah.
This job?
Yeah, with football and stuff, yeah. A lot of the Eastern European countries that I might not necessarily have been to otherwist.
Say Tanzania.
Probably 8 or 10.
That's a good
for
job
that
too.
reason.
Tanzania is my niche one.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the time I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro? The tallest freestanding mountain in the world. It's one of the 7 summits.
Wow.
Highest mountain in Africa. 5,895 metres. 19,341 feet, if you want to go by that metric. But did I ever bring that
I
up?
think there's more GMAC in you than you
Than in
pretend.
GMAC.
Well, you know, when you're actually layering it on, I think that actually a lot of that comes quite naturally.
There's so many mountains to choose from.
I'm just a climbing kind of guy.
I'm just a climbing kind of guy, I don't know. But someone commented the other day after I did a little GMAC part, and they said Shane's GMAC bit is just him talking in his own accent.
Yeah. I think that's...
don't know if I was offended or I was definitely offended.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are so many mountains to choose from, and I chose that one. And,
there's so many mountains. There's the McGillicuddy Reeks. There's Everest. We just name off 20 mountains.
Carn Toohill, as you guys like to call it. I don't know. Yeah, so that's probably my niche. That's my niche country. I'd say Tanzania. It's not very niche. A lot of Irish people do Tanzania and they do Kilimanjaro. So
well, that's the thing. What's a niche country anymore? How many countries is Cameron?
Oh, it's in the single figures, unfortunately.
Single figures?
I've never been outside of Europe.
What?
But you've lived in France, I suppose.
You lived in France, you're fluent.
So France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Switzerland. I was in Andorra. That was weird.
Ah, that's niche.
Oh, I never even counted. That's another one.
Oh, Jesus.
And Andorra's a weird one.
Went to Andorra. No, we were travelling around southern France, northern Spain, and we went to Andorra, and we didn't really know what we were doing there, but we rented a car and we went up through the mountains and on into it, and there was myself and my wife landed into this spa area, and there was like a really sort of cold spot on it, like it was shallow cold water, and you were supposed to go and immerse yourself in it for a short period of time and then get the hell out of Dodge.
Be great for you.
But the competitive side of me came out, and I said, okay, who can last longest in the cold thing?
Hypothermia waiting to happen.
So what happened was we both sort of took turns, and then I think my wife outdid me the first time, so I said, okay, I've got to go back in again, and then I outdid her, and then we ended up having to stay for an extra 2 days because we both came down with the flu.
Not bad. Have you ever heard of Wim Hof?
Yeah, the Wim Hof method.
Wim Hof method. I mean, a lot of people swear by it.
Go on.
Immersing yourself in cold water every morning for your... Supposed to have a lot of benefits.
You do it 10 minutes in the shower?
No.
5 minutes?
No.
2 minutes?
1.
6 seconds.
I do 1 minute of full-on cold shower after my shower.
That's the smart thing to do.
Very good for... I tried to do it... I've got into the habit of doing it to the point where I feel... At the start, it's like, oh, this is going to be torture, and you're sort of like, regretful about having made this decision in your life. And then now I've sort of got to the place where if I don't do it, I'm sort of half looking forward to it. It's actually quite a nice thing to do.
It's like remember cryotherapy was a huge thing in the early 10s. It's like the next big thing in sport, and now it's just
I sometimes do it. No, there's places up in Monaghan after a big match. If your legs are sore the next day, you'll hop into the ice bath and the cryo thing where you dip your legs in and see how far down you can get.
I'm putting cryotherapy in with, remember those little fish that nibble?
Oh yeah, they have to get rid of those.
But I think to be fair to cryotherapy, you can't position it as something that people were just looking to do, like the Wim Hof method I'm actually...
To be fair to cryotherapy.
There's definitely a part of me that's looking at that stuff going, I might get an old ice bath for the backyard.
Yeah, or it's just a bin, fill it with ice.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
One country, bucket list, top of, which is it?
Oh.
That goes to the room.
Japan, there easily.
That you haven't been to?
Yeah, I haven't been to.
Oh, it was your aunt.
Yeah, my aunt.
Ah, yes, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Japan.
Okay, Japan. I'm having that. India, yeah. My sister went there.
I think that would be the totally out of your comfort zone
experience that you're looking for.
And like getting away from Delhi and getting away from, I think, a lot of areas that might actually be like the high street in London.
Oh. That's a very good one. Nepal, probably. I want to do Everest Base Camp.
You like climbing?
Yeah. Did I talk about that yet?
Yeah.
Morocco is probably a closer by one that I'd love.
Now, a month ago, would you said that? Or because they're
no,
in the news?
I always wanted to... Now, Marrakesh, I don't know if it's probably quite touristy, but there's parts of Morocco I think that are supposed to be quite... Is it the Atlas Mountains?
I've been to...
sorry, to continue the mountain theme.
I've been to the Atlas Mountains and Marrakesh. Really accessible as well.
Right.
Really accessible. And
direct flights,
highly recommend it. Yeah. I think we might have flown via Spain possibly, but really accessible. Marrakesh, like that is a culture shock now. That's definitely
can you drink over there? Or is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no bother. Yeah, we went up into the Atlas Mountains, and as I like to say to my wife, this family invited us in for lunch. We had the thing, the not tandoori, their equivalent of the tandoori. You know, the thing you get in the little dish with the thing. I look it up in a second.
We'll have no help there.
What's it called? They invited us in for lunch, and it was like an amazing lunch. You know, chicken. We tagine, go man, Jojo. Well done. We paid for a tour of the Atlas Mountains. This was part of the tour, but as I like to say, they invited us in for lunch.
Class.
Randomly. It was very good.
So you'd recommend Morocco?
That's good.
Shane, yeah.
Right.
Cameron Hill, producer Cameron.
Yes.
Have you set foot in every county in Ireland?
No, I have not.
Oh, how many have you not?
How many have you?
Put on the spot.
By the sounds of it.
Right.
I think this is a reflection of Mayo generally, Cameron.
I've never been to Kerry, which is...
What?
Now that is mental. Clip that. That is mental.
I've never been to Kerry.
Elaborate there so we can get some more seconds out of it.
It's impossible to go to from Mayo.
It's at the same side of the country.
Just go
down. It's a fair...
That is ridiculous.
White Atlantic Way. Have you done? So you haven't done the White Atlantic Way?
No, not yet, no.
McGillicuddy Reeks.
Shane's just going to keep shouting.
He sure does.
Adrian's Googling Ireland there.
Just Googling how far it's not far, and that's mad.
That is mad. Have you been to Cork?
Oh, definitely. Sure. Yeah.
Have you been to Monaghan?
Yes.
Are we just going to do...
Have you been to Westmeath?
Have you been to?
No, I just want to know how many you've done.
I've been to Westmeath.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Adrian Barry, same question. Have you set foot in all 32 counties?
3.5 hours you were driving Castle.
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's all right.
I have, yeah.
No further,
no further conversation.
What was the last of the 32? Because Shane knows his.
I've no idea.
I don't think Adrian was like driving in. It's like finally.
Well,
No,
Shane
exactly.
knew. Shane knew.
I was, yeah.
Shane knew.
Probably it could have been Antrim, possibly.
Really, you had never been to Belfast up until that point?
No, probably would have been Antrim, I'd say. Yeah.
Wow. Right. And so we know that Shane, or I've given away that Shane has set foot in all 32. But guess you, what county Shane set foot in last of the 32? This shocked me.
It's not Monaghan.
The final county that Shane went to.
Why would this shock Colin?
Links with the west, so it probably isn't that. He's close enough up around the north, Donegal, surely any of them.
He's a cultured man.
It's going to shock you. I'm going to have to say cultured man. So Cork.
Yeah. That is mental.
It was during the summer. Yeah, West Cork. My sister Rachel was doing a gig in Mitchelstown. Festival. What's the festival called? I can't remember. I'll think of
Mitchelstown Summer Festival, probably.
No, it's a music festival. Independence. And then we spent a week doing a road trip down through West Cork, and it was unbelievable. Clonakilty, Skibbs, Skull.
Clonakilty's
West Cork, I thought. The rest of Cork, you can forget about.
We went to Cork City as well. I like Cork City.
You have two options. That's the beauty of Cork. There's something for everyone.
And sorry, it was a real. We did a walking tour. There was a Republican walking tour in Cove that we did, which was amazing. And then we went out to the Michael Collins ambush site in Ballinblaw and Kilmichael ambush site, and it was a real historical element to the whole Cork trip. I couldn't believe I'd never been.
Spike Island, and what's the place? Cove, of course, and all the Titanic stuff.
Yeah, we did that as well.
Spectre Corps has never been to the north. You find out about
I'm sure there are people.
You just find out about this. Now, Shane, I have another one for you.
Sorry, there was a moment my sister famously said when she set foot in Maynooth College for the first time. She was sitting in her class, and there was a girl, real D4. Not the stereotype here at all, but the girl asked her.
You've just done that, Shane.
I've gone too far. And the girl sat down beside my sister and was like, "Where are you from?" And Laura was like, "Monaghan." She was like, "Oh my God, is that in Meath?" Just leave that there.
One was that girl from Leitrim?
No, she was in D4.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And she thought Monaghan was a part of Meath. So that's how forgotten we can be sometimes.
That's tragic.
Monaghan is more than just a pit stop on the way to Donegal.
Well, speaking of, why is Monaghan bus station the worst place ever?
It's purgatory, honestly. And look, no offence to the people who run Monaghan bus station, but it's
generally those places tend to be a reflection of the
no, it's absolutely
town
not.
Ask
Johnny Ward. Johnny Ward last summer stopped off in Monaghan bus station, and look, he asked me for some recommendations of places to go. Told him within walking distance where to go, and he loved his time in Monaghan town. Monaghan bus station. I'm not one for hyperbole or exaggerating, but it's the worst place on planet Earth.
Okay.
Just grim.
Just really
if
grim.
it's raining when you come into Monaghan and you pull up in Monaghan bus station, you would honestly think you'd come into a dark.
Is that not bus stations though?
Yeah, it is.
I find
it
bus stations, because
that's the point. Yeah.
It is the most depressing form of.
But can you challenge that?
They are a reflection. They are a reflection of the town they're in. Like if you go to like Bilbao or somewhere, it'll be this like Gaudi inspired. They do tend to reflect the town they're in.
Budapest train station is grim as well, but I love the city.
Yeah,
Monaghan bus station.
There are shades of like the curtain over Budapest, and I would say there's probably shades of the curtain over Monaghan.
I don't think anyone puts effort in. If anyone's going to a place for the bus station, you really need to.
It's not that you're going there for the bus station, but if that's the welcoming point, it should be like not the grimmest place on earth.
But
you want to get out of there.
Myself.
We haven't got to the crux. So Cameron, I think, correctly challenged. Sure, every bus station is grim. So why does Monaghan stand out?
The lack of snacks, the lack of things to do when you get off to stretch the legs. Just all looks a little bit Soviet bloc 1980s. There's a little bit of those vibes off it.
Yeah.
So, but I think the rest of Monaghan makes up for it massively.
Okay, I'll move it along. If you could be fluent in one language beyond English, what would you be fluent in?
Spanish all day long.
Well, we already have a. Are you fluent in French?
I was
conversational.
Like it kind of go. It's like not going to a gym for a week. It's amazing how even just the space of 2 weeks you lose a good bit of French. Like if I was going back and over to France as it was this year, when you go back over, it's like, oh, there's 2 or 3 days where you have to get back into the swing of it.
When you come home, do you find yourself like Joey Barton talking English in a French accent?
Yeah, I do, of course.
Do you do this?
Yes. I go around to, Mum, how you say, how are you?
At the airport,
Yeah. I had a, what's the word? Comment on dit? Good time?
He wouldn't use a French phrase though, that's the only thing.
No.
You do have the glazed look when you do it too. You get really into character.
But I've had conversations with people about this. You have a different personality when you have a different accent. I have a friend who's like really soft-spoken in English, and then he's half Italian, so when he speaks Italian, it's everything. He gives it the full shebang.
But that's the same when you coach like when I have a meal at home in Monaghan now, driving home for Christmas today, and I have a meal with my friends in Monaghan, and you lads wouldn't, if you heard me talking to my friends this evening, you probably wouldn't know what I was saying.
You see, you don't think you have a strong accent, and all the rest of us are going, what did he say there? Was that...
Yeah. There was the time we were on stage at Electric Picnic, and we landed out, myself, Adrian, Nathan and Ger in September, and walked out, and I said something, and I obviously knew what I said, and hopefully most of the audience members who were present knew what I said, and Adrian just looked at me with a vacant stare, and he was like, what did you just say? Didn't have a clue what I had just said.
Forgotten, but like that was one of the highlights of the year, wasn't it?
That was brilliant.
Remember your man who walked in halfway through, he was like, he was from somewhere around about, we were talking about,
who are you?
He was not. He didn't know what he'd walked into.
He's from Laois.
I think he was Courtney and what are they called? Brendan Courtney and Lennon. Courtney and Lennon were coming on after us, a fashion podcast, and maybe he was in for that. He wasn't in for us, and he was not up for us.
No,
and he was abusing the hell out of us.
He just shouted from the back of the room, "Who are you?" in his big Laois accent. That we were like, well,
he wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy.
That was very good fun.
There was a Ronan Keating lookalike as well.
How many counties have you been to? Why are you not answering these questions yourself?
I'm answering. I'm the one posing them. I want to hear from you. Like,
counties?
Huh?
What counties?
I don't think I've been to Fermanagh.
You haven't been to Monaghan?
Or Monaghan, yeah. I haven't been to Monaghan, right?
That can disgrace.
Here, the return leg.
Shane Hannon.
Come on.
T. Wilson and Orl Armour. Not happy. I don't think I have. And actually, I'm a bit like Spectacor here, who, by the way, has clarified that he has been to Donegal, but just not the rest of the northern section of the country.
Northern, yeah.
I would say I've been to.
Shane always hints at these things.
Derry.
He corrects you on your
He'd
terminology.
be right.
The occupied territory, let's call it.
Yeah, Derry,
well, you're not including Northern Ireland as one of your countries, I'd imagine. It's just you've been to Ireland.
Oh no, sure.
Yeah.
That was kind of said.
That's up to 38 now.
Yeah. That was said in the office yesterday, and there's kind of a bit of silence afterwards as everyone let that comment slide. It was like, okay.
I think that's a disgrace.
This conversation, us being flippant about this conversation, as all the capacity to result in.
No, I'm not at all. I'm trying to avoid it, to be honest with you. But so you're saying you are French fluent. We'll put it down. What's your language that you'd like to be fluent in?
I would go for Cantonese.
Cantonese.
Oh, that would be incredibly useful.
Yeah, it'd be very useful for me because my in-laws are Chinese.
Right. Do you know any? Can you pick up anything? No.
Anything.
Few little bits and pieces.
That's tough. That's a tough language to learn. I'd say.
More understanding or talking.
Oh, sorry. No. I'd have no capacity to engage. I have like 3-year-old sort of know how to talk about certain words for certain things, and that's it. Like.
So you sometimes know what they'll have said to you, or have said.
Mostly not. No, okay, mostly wouldn't have a clue. No, mostly wouldn't have a clue, and it's also a language that's spoken so quickly.
It's the most spoken language in the world, isn't it?
Having a clue,
I think it's fast.
The Mandarin.
It's not like I personally don't find it a language that if you've got a basic grasp of it. Sorry, I don't have a basic grasp. I've got like about 10 words, but I've no ability to pick those words up generally in a conversation.
Right, yeah.
It's
That's how tough it is.
Well, look, it all stems from me. I'm interested by this anyway, but also we're like a disgrace in Ireland in that we must have the lowest grasp of our own national language versus other countries. And like, it's just not widely spoken enough.
It's a fair point.
Tupafuckle here and there. Like,
is that your response to the question then?
No, but it actually stemmed from that. Is that I think like maybe
changing my answer to Irish from Spanish.
I'd like to learn Irish.
Is Welsh spoken in Wales? Other than that, every other country, and it would be. And so other than that, I think we have a disgraceful lack of respect for our own language. Like,
agreed.
Give or take, obviously, certain sections of the country. Which
that's bedded into us, though. I think
it is. It's the way it's taught in school, isn't it? I mean, it's a whole.
I think that's too, and I also think it's too. You're abstaining yourself from any responsibility.
It's an easy exit clause.
Because you could, if you wanted to, you could just go on.
But it's on me. But it's also on everyone. It's on everyone because nobody does it.
But I think collectively we all go, the education wasn't great, and I would definitely have fallen into that category.
Yeah.
I think if you want to learn Irish, go and learn it.
Yeah, but it's more that you don't need it, isn't it? Because it's useful to have Cantonese and French and Spanish that you like. So
there's a lot of you've got to get your finger out and do it yourself. But
where's the motivation?
Well, I have friends who, like, one of my really good friends is doing her PhD in early Irish poetry, and she's fluent in Irish, and she will have a lot of events in Conra on Harcourt Street.
Yeah.
And they are great crack, and you really get the bug when you're in there.
Yeah.
Ken out in the box there has good grasp of Irish. I've heard him on a few podcasts, and he's nodding away there. And I'm listening to Maura Chas is just the dream. Like,
what's your answer?
Spanish as well.
Right.
Definitely, yeah.
Spanish. Oh yeah, forget about the
100% Spanish.
No,
it's Spanish.
It's such a pity that we don't have Irish, but Spanish would be my answer.
Can you speak any other language?
No, I just have a good phrase for I'm hungover, which I learned in Australia of all places.
In Spanish?
Yeah.
What is it?
No me gusta, yo tengo resaca.
No me gusta, yo
I
tengo
don't like
resaca.
it, I'm hungover. And also I'd be in the box every day with Jojo and just marvel at his
ability
like to go from Portuguese to English.
I don't like it, I'm hungover.
I don't like it, my current state. I'm hungover.
Obrigado.
So I like that. Now, I'm just before we...
It's like Duolingo here, come on.
Really crap Duolingo, yeah.
To finish up, right, let's make it festive, right? You might not be into consumerism, I don't think you are. What's the best Christmas present you ever received?
Received?
Yeah.
I'm not the man for receiving. I love giving.
What an answer.
I'd be in
what a dream boy.
I love it.
Fluent French.
I'm really
like
bad at
receiving.
We have an ongoing gag at home where no matter what I get, I have to fake a response.
I'm the same.
I have no ability to be even if I really like the gift.
Even if you liked it, you'd still be the same.
I just
can't.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough gig.
Oh, thank you.
Look,
that's right.
But you could like it. You could actually like it.
You could like it. It's the awkwardness of the whole charade.
Yeah,
the best gift I
absolutely.
ever got was a blue Enic racer bike when I was about 12.
That's brilliant answer. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Incredible, brilliant bike that I could still draw you a vivid picture of right now.
That's class. I love that.
Class.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles truck.
Right.
Nice.
Oh, brilliant.
I don't know where it is. If it's anywhere now, I'd love to find it.
Billy could dig it out.
Billy, ma'am.
That's a great one.
Go on.
I'd probably have we had a little green and yellow John Deere tractor that included the trailer and a few little farm animals that you put into the back of it. And Dad would be mowing the lawn and I'd be going along with him and throwing a bit of grass in the back and dumping it out the back. And I wasn't even a bog man. I'm a tiny back in Monaghan. I'm from Monaghan town. So the whole world...
Culture everywhere else.
Culture everywhere else.
So
the whole
slicker at home.
Yeah, the whole world of tractors was not something that I was into. And still, look, I'm not into tractors. And Marty Moans hit the diff. I'll throw it on secretly in the car home the odd time. But it wouldn't be. Or wagon wheel. Darius Rucker's version of...
You said I'm not into tractors like it was an official statement. And he had to deny something.
Marcy Ferguson's hay.
I'll tell you the difference between a John Deere and a Massey
Ferguson. I could, yeah. I'm not that bad.
And Cameron?
I honestly don't know.
Most memorable? Who got you that tap?
I got this myself.
That's tragic.
Gifted yourself?
Yeah, gifted myself a little treat. I tell you about the best present I ever gave to somebody.
Oh yeah, here we go.
How about that? And it's not really a Christmas present, but I got an immense sense of satisfaction out of it. So we had a teacher in school. You know, you have your favourite teacher.
Of course.
He was our maths teacher. We had him from second year all the way.
What's his name? Come on. Give him a shout out.
His name's Paul McCormick.
Paul,
if you're
just disrespected all the other teachers.
Yeah, that's terrible.
You're young enough for all those teachers still to be actively teaching.
Oh yeah, I can't go back there for another 10 years.
The story is good now.
The grammar up in Sligo.
Grammar in Sligo. You're not from Mayo?
I was...
you were farmed out to a better school?
Oh, parents wanted to get rid of me.
Right.
So they were like, up you go, 6 years.
Kathleen and Cameron were very nearby.
Was it a boarding school?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Some
stories.
I always thought it was like something sort of a...
Go on, sorry.
Anyway, so we loved this teacher, and he would always talk about how good Casio calculators were for graphing. He would always talk like they just have an edge over the rest, and he would bring it up in class and go, oh yeah, the Casio, if you have this, you can graph this here. To the point where in 5th year, I asked him, sir, are you on the take with Casio? Because you just subtly bring this up every so often. And he loved that. And then for the rest of the year, kept going. Now the Casio, and knowingly looking at me and smiling and doing a kind of the real bullseye prize moment where they go, there you go. So when it came to getting gifts for thank you for 6 years of putting up with our nonsense, I was like, oh, I know what we get him. Get him a letter from Casio thanking him for being an unofficial salesperson for the last 20 years. We got it framed, handed it to him. He was very, very thankful. I think it's still in his room, hanging up. but he doesn't believe it's real. But it is real. We
That's
wrote to
nice.
them, and they were like, "Dear Paul, thank you so much for your years of dedicated service to the brand."
Fantastic.
And I was chuffed as chips when I gave it to him.
Unreal.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. That's very nice.
Yeah.
But it's wholesome. It's
Not to do with Christmas, but actually sort of.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of calculator, there's no way we can top that. But just a good one for calculators. You can write Buig in calculators. What would the number be?
At 9:14
9:14
this morning, I think that's
about
the jumping off point.
What would the number be?
This is going to be for the
If
after
you turn it
show.
upside
This is
down,
for
it spells Buig.
OTB AM.
Okay, it's
After hours.
Think about it.
614008.
Brilliant. And that's why we got him in.
There you go.
Sponsored by Casio.
Now, did you enjoy
You
that?
can't do it on Casio. They have
Live
that segment.
each morning by
Arabic.
Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day.
Did you?
This is my
Did you enjoy that?
that last bit not so much, but up to that,
Other than it was
seemed
fine,
a bit
was it?
pointless. And
Well, look, I mean,
Christmas.
It's Christmas, you know, and I hope that the commenters and listeners understand that we're just having a little Christmas fun.
they don't do nuance though. You see that?
They do nuance. I want to take that spectacle.
I think people enjoy these conversations that are a bit more laid
I
back.
think so.
and-
I think
and
so.
unscripted.
And it suits us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going back to the sport now. There's no problem.
Right, 9:15. We can all breathe again. Colm and Cameron, thanks a million for coming. We didn't even reintroduce you. You just appeared in studio. So
Magic.
Someone manifested.
disappear
Someone
again.
wished it into existence online.
Great
There you
present.
go.
make all our viewers happy and just disappear again. That'd be great. Up next, Alan Quinlan. We are getting back to the sport. We're going to give us his top rugby moments of the year, and up here you're going to see a clip from the brand new OTB Games Room. It's in partnership with Virgin Media. Bring your A game with 99.9% broadband reliability. Devon Toner, the latest to take on the self-appointed OTB FIFA champ Nathan Murphy.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
Off the Ball Daily.
A home for your favourite podcasts from Off the Ball. The performance rankings, You Had to Be There, the crappy quiz, and a slight tangent.
And the next time he opens his mouth, I'm the first one on saying, "Lads, Keane said this."
Subscribe to the Off the Ball Daily podcast feed right now.
1-0 up at half-time, Dev. Were you a big man for the half-time chats? Were you the motivational speaker?
No, I wasn't.
Johnny didn't let you talk?
I let everyone do all the talking. I talked when it come to lineouts. Other than that, I didn't. Here we go.
What
sprint? Why isn't my sprint working?
So we're going to see Coach Dev at some stage?
For an under 670 maybe. It's not in my immediate radar. No.
Well, there's a good record of Leinster second rowers going in, and
I think he's got that job sewn up, doesn't he? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I kind of.
it'd work because all the height things that they've had to put in place for Leo around the office would just they could just keep them there.
Yeah. And your coach, you're always on as well.
When you start coaching the under sixes, your weekends won't be great either. I can tell you.
Yeah.
Are you a sports fanatic who loves to travel? Then sportspass.ie is for you. Log on for the chance to win the trip of a lifetime in 2023 to a top global sporting event. 8 winners get to choose from 12 incredible prizes, including trips to the Women's World Cup in Australia, the Super Bowl, the Masters and WrestleMania. All prizes include return flights, accommodation and tickets for 2 people from anywhere in the world. That's sportspass.ie. You win, you choose.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
17 minutes past 9 OTB AM, and we have more still to come. Quick look at what's happening across the back pages. Not a comprehensive sweep by any means, but here's a bit of a flavour of what's going on. The Irish Daily Star to begin with. Headache for Cop. Nathan Strike dumps Reds out of the League Cup. Nathan Aki with the goal last night. City beating Liverpool 3-2.
That's a stretch. It's Nathan Aki, so it's not Head Aki.
See, they're not really meant to be read out, is the thing.
Headache.
Do you know?
Well, are they not meant to be read out now?
In your head, like.
In your head. Read it in your head. It's okay. I'll give the Star 5 out of 10.
The Irish Examiner has Rhythm and Blues. You might rather that one a little bit better. City Edge Liverpool and pulsating cup thriller. It really was a brilliant game, and probably if the World Cup hadn't have been on, would have been just one of those fixtures where probably both of them would have been fielding second string teams, but trying to get a bit of freshness back into a lot of players is what's happened there. And Ronan O'Gara's column inside, the necessity to speak with your eyes and ears. This is the value of non-verbal communication. Achy Christmas.
This is crap.
I'm having that achy Christmas.
No.
Are they trying to say Aki Christmas is in Happy Christmas?
Oh, Aki Christmas, okay.
That's terrible.
Achy Christmas.
Yeah, achy
what did you think it was? Achy Christmas.
Achy, shaky Christmas? I have no idea.
It's
asked me.
better
City
guess.
edge out Reds and Football Feast, and Garrigan hits out an upsetting tweet by Shells. This is the story of Jess Garrigan, who's moved from Shelburne to Shamrock Rovers, and the Shelburne tweet that went out during the week that's subsequently been deleted, which was through though cowards flinch and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. This was in relation to Shamrock Rovers obviously picking up a lot of their players as the former trade union slogan, but there's been plenty of fallout from that, and I'm sure more to come. 19 minutes past 9. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How are you?
Good. Loads to get through and 11 minutes to do it, so we'll get straight into it with the games to begin with, if you don't mind. Ulster Connacht, and Connacht naming a very strong 15 for this one. Ulster obviously back after that sublime half in Europe. Hard one to call, or what way are you feeling?
Yeah, it is. They've had a tough couple of weeks, haven't they, Ulster? Given, a couple of weeks ago where they were at half time against Leinster, all looking good. Big psychological boost about to happen with them beating Leinster in the RDS, and then Leinster responded and were brilliant in that second half, and obviously going to Sale. They were desperate there, really poor, and the first half against La Rochelle last week. So they've had no break with the travel, and obviously getting over to Sale on the Sunday morning, then the La Rochelle game being moved down to Dublin. But they're a better team than that, and we've said it, but there's a psychological scar that's left after these, and they're on the road again, which is tricky for them. They're going to the sports ground against a very strong Connacht side tonight, who've all their internationals back, and so that's going to be a really tough one for them. And the kind of pressure mounts up a little bit. No home comforts for them.
Yeah, and Connacht desperate for the win as well to get themselves back into the reckoning in Europe. Doak at 10 as well for Ulster. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Munster-Ulster is always a bit of interest here, Quinny. 21 points between them in the table, both on the back of wins in Europe. And I saw Mike Prendergast during the week saying that there's no mental hang-up for Munster when they're playing Leinster. The record isn't great. Is he right?
The record is dreadful, really. The last 9 league games Munster have lost, 2 semi-finals, 1 final and 6 league games. So there is a Rainbow Cup win in there for Munster last May, 12 months. But it's very difficult. Everybody, I think, who plays Leinster, you've got to get a huge part of your game right for 80 minutes. You can't switch off, and they kind of proved that again a few weeks ago in that Ulster victory, when if you're in a situation 22-3 up at half time, you think you're going to see at home, there's always going to be a response from the opposition. But Leinster just reminded everyone again, and what they've done in Europe, that performance over in Racing. We don't know the teams yet, obviously. I think what Munster will probably not lose too many, and I think they've shown, I suppose, big improvements in their performance in the last couple of weeks. They still have issues around their discipline and probably some of their execution last week, turning the ball over. But we know Leinster can make lots of changes and still have a very powerful, strong side, and Leo Cullen has got that right in the last number of years in this fixture, and picking guys who are probably hungry and disappointed and frustrated that they're not starting for Leinster in the big European games, and they seem to perform. And getting that balance right has been easier for him than most other coaches because of the quality he has. So Leinster's, I think it's 2018-19 season was the last time I worked for that game. I did the commentary down in Thomond Park. Munster won 26-17. It's a long time, and it shows how strong Leinster have been. But it also shows that Munster, were stuck in a rut and not good enough to win those games. Some of them were very, very disappointing. But dare I say, there's a little bit of optimism and hope for this one, that if people keep saying that Munster will finally win one, eventually they will anyway. That's going to happen at some stage. But this is a perfect opportunity for Munster, given the last number of weeks and some positivity back in the club.
That's that one is Monday evening, and then you've Connacht Ulster this evening at 7:35. Just give me 2 words for call the 2 games.
I think Connacht and Leinster are probably favourites for both games and will probably get a result. So it's hard to kind of move away from that. But I think if Munster get opportunities, and you expect a reaction from Ulster going to Connacht. I think the disappointment of the last few weeks, and they're very capable. They walloped Connacht in that first game in round 1, 36-10, I think was the score. So, obviously there's a bit of bite and rivalry, and look, it depends what team Leinster pick, but I'm giving Munster a chance for sure in this one.
We to bounce around a fair bit here because I want to get to your top 3 rugby moments of the year, but one thing I just want to ask you quickly about, Quinny, if I can, we need to mention it. The Benetton story this week, finally suspending at last in the last 24 hours the player who gave Guinea-born Italy international Sheriff Traore a banana in a Secret Santa thing, and the fact that it's taken so long for the club to act is sort of where we're at the minute. That's the main talking point out of it. They have finally suspended the player, but it took them an awful long time to get there.
It did, and it's shocking really what happened. I just couldn't, obviously I playing for Munster for a long time, and a lot of familiar faces and very close friends and people in the dressing room I was in with Munster. There was a lot of slagging, a lot of fun, different outfits and costumes bought for people at Christmas when we would go on a Christmas party or for a Christmas outing. I could never envisage, or I could never believe that somebody would do this in the modern age. It's shocking, really, what happened. And fair play to Traore for coming out. He risked. He obviously, and we don't know what the fallout is. Risks, putting himself in a really awkward position here. And will he continue playing with Benetton? Would he stay there? The player is suspended now. What's the whole reaction? But we know Italy has a bit of a checkered past and present, I suppose, with regarding racism. We see a lot of problems there in soccer, but this is shocking in rugby. Really, I was really surprised, as everyone was, that you would actually consider doing something like that or playing a practical joke on somebody, thinking it's funny. Shocking, really, and he deserves huge credit and he deserves support. He deserves to be supported around this now, and not scapegoated internally by teammates, and why did he do this, and he shouldn't have went public. They crossed the line there, and he deserves massive credit and support for coming out and speaking about it. Yeah, we'll watch it as developments unfold, there's no doubt they will. Right, let's get into your top 3 moments of the year, rugby, Quinny, in the rugby, and it's a bit of a incredible reflection on the year, to be honest, and most of it is involving Ireland, but let's start off with the one that's not, and the Six Nations. And there was one moment particularly that stood out for you. Yeah, obviously my Welsh friends won't be too happy to be bringing this up if there's any of them listening, or any Welsh people. I'm sure it was an incredibly disappointing situation for them and a disappointing Six Nations, but Italy beating Wales in that last game of the Six Nations was just phenomenal, really. It was Eduardo Padovani scoring that try in injury time. Capuzzo, the full-back in the day, he's playing with Toulouse now, he kind of introduced himself to the world with that counter-attack and that break and the pass inside for Padovani. And, it's difficult for Welsh people, and it was an incredibly disappointing day. But if you're a rugby neutral or a sporting neutral, just to see the scenes at the end of that game, I think it was a high, and it was great to see. Obviously, if it was Ireland, I wouldn't be saying it's great to see. But Kieran Crowley, 36 games lost, consecutive games lost in the Six Nations, and then they produced that performance. I think it was an incredible finish to a game, and it was a high. It was a rugby high throughout the year. Again, if you're Welsh, it's not a rugby high, obviously, but I just think the scenes and the emotion at the end, it was a lovely moment in sport.
You've gone for the Irish second and third tests in New Zealand as well, perhaps unsurprisingly. Quinny, definitely some really in the year's moments there.
Yeah, I just think, I even still think back now, and I just think the feeling and the mood, and there wasn't many people around there. They were coming out of COVID. Still lots of restrictions there and face masks and all that kind of stuff. In New Zealand, I headed off through Los Angeles and, landed there on the Thursday and thought, the intrigue. I always loved going to New Zealand as a player and just the passion and they have for the rugby there. Every corner you go around, if you drive out of any of the cities, somebody's kicking a rugby ball. There's little games going on everywhere. It's an incredible country, and it's a lot of similarities to Ireland with the farming background and the countryside and all that. And I just thought, I grew up watching the All Blacks and the aura they have. And I think obviously we've broken that, started in 2016, getting that win in Chicago and a couple of more wins after that. But I thought, it was obviously a daunting task, but I just loved the response in the second and third test and the bravery of the Irish side and the way they played. They didn't try and contain New Zealand. They just went out and backed themselves and played. And the scenes at the end again in the third test in Wellington, which it would have been very, very easy to kind of pat yourself on the back and say, well, we've won the second test now. That's brilliant. We've done something that no Irish team has ever done. Normal events will take place now that New Zealand, we put up a good fight in the third test and they'll win it and we get massive credit, can have brilliant holidays at home. But the drive to try and get that series win in the third test was sensational. The performance in the first half, the tries that Ireland scored, and then the fight that they showed in that second half to hang on when New Zealand responded and came back at them. And I just thought I'm not sure how many people.
Quinny's been muted, I think.
Players come out down on the bottom end of the field.
Sorry, I was just dipping in and out there. His last moment, Quinny, sorry, we've lost there. I don't know if you can hear us. I think his headphones might have run out of juice by the sounds of things if he can't hear us. So
hopefully Santa brings a new set for him.
We'll get him in 2023. And exactly, happy Christmas and New Year to Alan Quinlan. His other moment was the Josh Van. For me, there was such a pack of players there over the last couple of years between the likes of Conan, O'Mahony, going back to CJ Stander, going back to Dan Levy. There was a cohort of back row players there. Caelan Doris. There's more. The list is close to endless. And then Josh Van der Fleer was the one that stood out. So
head and shoulders
and World Player of the Year. So Josh Van der Fleer, Quinny, I think you might be back with us.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, Adrian, but just finishing off in New Zealand to see the crowds at the end and the Irish people. I think after everything with COVID, it's something they'll never forget. But being there and being part of it and doing the commentary on it was phenomenal. Yeah, Josh Van der Fleer is the other one. Just his performances. I think he's such a humble fella. I remember meeting him after the first test, and on Sunday morning in Auckland, and he was heading off to Mass on Sunday morning. And I just thought, anytime I've ever met the guy, he's incredibly humble, and the way he's improved his game, and for him fitting at the end of the year to win World Player of the Year, it's a phenomenal achievement for him as a player.
Yeah, he's really stood out from the pack. Thanks, Willie, for everything over the year, Quinny. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you every Friday morning, and enjoy the rugby over the break. Talk to you next year.
Cheers, lads. Happy Christmas to you.
Same to you, Quinny.
Thanks a million. That's us.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Not the last show of 2022.
You're going out for a meal with the lads tonight, is that what you were saying?
Got a meal up in the Squilling Pig in Monaghan this evening.
Oh, yeah, you've been on about the Squilling Pig before.
Yeah, it's just one of the pubs, and it's a good location in the centre of town there. So we'll go for a meal, a few drinks.
Cold beers.
A few cold beers, I don't know.
Get a few tattoos.
Dinner and drinks. Definitely dinner somewhere anyway.
Tattoos.
A few tattoos. I'm a tattoo kind of guy.
Good man. Well, listen, the last few months have been an absolute pleasure, Shane.
Absolutely.
Fair play. You're playing a blinder. Another big few months ahead next year.
A lot of fun. We go again in the new year.
We go again and enjoy the few days off. Thanks to everybody. Ken and Jojo out in the box. Cameron produced today, I have to say. Shane, I don't know how you felt, but definitely felt as if we'd just a strong, not sure what it was, it just felt like we had a strong hand on the tiller this morning.
Yeah, Colm's too distracted by the domestic game over in the UK being returned. The domestic game, as he calls it.
Yeah.
I think he was the Carabao Cup, it was just on his head because it's domestic for him.
Colm's more of a Carabao Cup kind of guy.
Like a little bit of FA Cup, as you guys League Cup, as you guys like to call it. I don't know.
Thanks a million to Colm as well.
Cheers,
of course, tip of the cap, and to Emma as well, who's off today with big live events upcoming for all her work across the year as well. To Kathleen, I'm going to leave somebody off here, haven't I? Now that I started, who else have I got to mention? Have I gone through the list? Paul as well.
Ian as well.
Keane
looks after TikToks. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so look at
Andy Boy.
We've left people off, and it's the nightmare of starting one of these lists. Thanks to you for watching over the course of the year. We've really enjoyed your company, and we'll see you again. So, what are we leaving you with? Some stuff from the show last night. It's going to be good stuff, whatever it is. Good luck.
Until 10 o'clock. Coming up over the next hour, who knows? The 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock hour all week has really just been whatever the hell anybody wants. They can go and do it, and that's what we're going to do.
Goddamn Christmas, Nathan.
Manchester City 0, Liverpool 0. 3 minutes gone, but chances for both Erling Haaland and Darwin Núñez inside the first 90 seconds. Haaland got in behind, fired over the top of the crossbar. Núñez got in behind, had a shot blocked, resulted in a corner, but it came to nothing. Two relatively strong sides out on the pitch. Caoimhín Kelleher in goal for Liverpool.
Is that new on the side, the board?
The advertising hoarding. No, they brought that in for Champions League games. It's basically a double-sized advertising hoarding. So they bought that in for Champions League games, which I think is a requirement.
They have in
more
Italy.
Advertising space.
It's like that in
and
Italy.
Manchester City have kept it for Premier League games as well. I wonder, is it because it takes up a few extra seats in the stadium, if you were being very cynical?
It doesn't look
all very modern, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look very nice.
It doesn't look very nice at all. So Mick McCarthy, senior producer extraordinaire, what's the plan for the next hour?
Is Arthur not producing the show tonight? We are going to look, Nathan. Me and Arthur had a discussion last night on the show that about our top moments of the year. You were kind of spouting on about your memories of the year and how you wanted to contribute, and I was like, you know what, that was an unfinished conversation. There's so much sport to talk about. We dug into, we had a big long conversation about Italy and Wales in the Six Nations last night. There's so much to get into, so we said, why not have your personal top 10 moments of the of 2022, and sure, we can chat as we go. And also then I do notice that there is a draft board on
that's because I have 9 sporting moments of the year, but my 10th is about to happen tonight. So Arthur O'D, producer this evening, is an extraordinarily talented individual. He has this year written the sports book of the year.
Yeah, not officially, but
not officially, but it's just an outrage.
By any of the many companies who organise Sports Book of the Year
How many
awards.
Sports Book of the Year titles are there? You didn't manage to win any of them. Let's see.
But he's been in a lot of write-ups, I would say, about my favourite Sports Book of the Year, Nathan.
You were unsure whether you wanted to talk about this, but you said genuinely it is your favourite.
I just said if we did a different segment where we talked about our favourite book of the year, favourite film of the year, so etc. I said my favourite book of the year is Arthur's book, and I would think he might get a little bit awkward if I kind of went.
He's looking awkward right now. I'm going to read it over Christmas. I promise you, Arthur.
What?
I'm going to read your book over Christmas.
Come on.
I'm going to make a bit of space in my Christmas period and see what
Limerick
fuss is all
biography in 9 lives, I think, just in case anybody's wondering what we're talking about.
I don't think anyone's wondering at this stage what we're talking about.
Remember you told us we weren't doing enough promotion for your book there a while ago?
It's relentless, isn't it? I hope you're getting a bonus for all this free publicity.
Too late now anyway.
Have you signed up for a second book yet?
No, nothing yet.
Opened offers?
Opened offers, yeah. No, nothing
23?
yet.
Limerick football, the future. I suppose there would be actually a lot of people. Tomorrow, I tell you, is the last, in my youth, I would have done all my Christmas shopping on the 23rd, and it would have often flowed over into the 24th. So I'd imagine people are still doing that.
Oh, no, absolutely. There'll be an awful lot. Tomorrow's probably the busiest shopping day of the year.
Well, there's a good Limerick book.
Get yourself in and buy Limerick, a biography.
Even if you're not from Limerick.
Just do it anyway.
Do it anyway. So, as well as being an incredibly talented author, Arthur informed us a few weeks ago, a PhD, which he doesn't like to mention that. Yet here we are. He is a community games champion.
Yeah.
Not in athletics, not even in discus throwing, not in art, not in any of the main disciplines, you would have to say.
It's part of the arts.
Is this?
No, probably not.
Is it a sport or an art?
Not art like Jack B. Yates winning an Olympic medal in art.
Close enough. Arthur is a drafts champion.
Yeah, it was a team, I hasten to add. It was a team of 5. I said that
you
from the
weren't so
beginning.
keen to mention them at the start, but now it's a shared effort. What year did you win the Community Games Drafts Championship?
Oh, good question. It was under 12.
Under 12, okay.
So I was born in 91.
So we
So
go
it
back
must have been about 2002. 2002, around 2002,
Okay.
I'd say.
And what village
Great
were you
year for Irish
representing?
sport. Arthur won the drafts and
Yeah.
no, Saipan.
Saipan, yeah. What Corrigia was the parish.
Okay, and who were the big rivals in Sligo? We didn't have any rivals.
I don't want to sound too. We got out of it a lot, like, you know what I mean. Like, we're not.
They got out of Sligo.
I'm not joking about that. That we have there's at least 5 or 6 county medals. So that's
There'd be a strong drafts tradition in the village. Yeah.
I mean, like, look,
Sligo hurling, a biography in 9 lives. Sligo drafts.
Drafts, I would say, yeah.
Mocko,
You've lost it, Nathan. You're really trying to get out of here.
I am trying to get out of here. So you've 1 gold medal, 1 silver medal, is this?
Oh, 1 gold, 1 bronze.
1 gold, 1 bronze.
Yeah, bronze 2 years before, a year or 2 before.
Wow. Okay.
Spurred us on, you know.
So I which I'm
What
regretting.
happened after under 12?
It doesn't run any further.
Oh, it doesn't.
You can't progress to senior level.
We peaked, just like David Clifford yesterday.
Is it part of the GEA drafts? Is it an Irish sport?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
They call it checkers in the States.
They do. Maybe that's where it was invented. Why do we call it drafts here?
No idea.
I would have thought you'd bring a bit more knowledge to this, to be quite honest, to make it a more interesting segment. Anyways.
Well, he didn't know it was coming.
I found a drafts board at home today and I said, you know what, I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to take this bad boy down.
Great radio.
That is what is about to happen. So we'll
Like
have
to
our chat about our
commentate on it.
sports.
You do, yeah.
We'll have our chat about our sports while this is going on.
You have
How
the
long
numbers.
does an average drafts game take?
Depends. And who's playing? Like, you
Depends on
know
how
what I mean?
quickly I
Like,
beat
Do you feel this could be over in about 5 minutes?
well, it depends. Like,
It's going to be
we do have
difficult now.
keep
Now that I
talking.
think about it, to both concentrate and to keep talking. Sports moments of the year. Then, what I did was go back through my phone and my photographs to see was there anything I was at that really stood out. And one of them that I had almost forgotten about, and in many ways my highlight of the entire year. I'm going to put it in on my top 10.
Okay.
The only time all year I've been nervous until right now playing this drafts game. Only time in about 5 years I've been nervous interviewing someone.
Oh.
Meeting
Your
the
man.
great Jordan Spieth at the JP McManus Pro-Am.
Yeah.
I was nervous because never has a man not wanted to do an interview as much as Jordan Spieth didn't want to do that interview. I'd met him earlier in the day, twice, and he was both going for breakfast and going for lunch. And then as he was leaving the scorer's hut after his round, where as it was such a good interview, I didn't even realise he'd been disqualified from the tournament.
You could be disqualified from the JP
You can be
Pro-Am.
disqualified from the JP Pro-Am, which I hadn't realised he had just been disqualified. I cornered him and forced him to spend 5 minutes, 5 beautiful minutes in my company.
It's an interview we've all heard about, Nathan, but a few of us have heard.
Wow. Wow, that's harsh, isn't
What was he
it?
disqualified for?
Awesome. I think he might
Cheating
have.
in the crappy quiz.
I think he didn't finish a hole. He didn't realise that the players were playing an individual competition as well as the team competition, and picked his ball up without holding it.
So he was upset about this?
No, he wasn't at all.
Oh, okay, right.
He wasn't at all. It was fine. Manchester
That
City
wasn't the
won,
reason he didn't
Liverpool
want to talk
0.
to you.
Football is back. Erling Haaland has scored. He's done one of
24th
those.
goal of the season.
He's done one of those karate kick finishes. It was a ball from the right hand side. It was, as I say, a kind of typical Haaland karate kick. Volleys it into the back of the net.
That can't be right, was it? 24?
24 goals,
24th
yeah.
goal of the season. It's not even Christmas, and they just had 5 weeks off.
Yeah. You see, this is what the World Cup is.
24th goal of the season.
This is what the World Cup has done to your brain. You've completely forgotten that despite everything we've seen over the past month, Erling Haaland might be the best footballer in the world right now.
As will somebody on the yet to be recorded crappy
Who's going
quiz
first?
tomorrow.
You fire away there, go on.
Okay,
so,
I'm going to make my first move. I feel already like that was a bad move.
He's
I've
moved. He's in his head now because... by the way, the reason this came out, we've actually missed the headline on this. The reason this came about is, as Arthur takes the first move, just casual, right? Nathan said when this drafts thing came up that I'd beat you in drafts. And it wasn't that Arthur kind of went, oh, well, of course, you know, we give it a go. It was that it was his definitive response of, no, you wouldn't. Never in 100 years you wouldn't beat me in drafts. You have no chance. And that's where this came up. Nathan's been determined ever since.
Jump me there, please.
They've...
he's played a psychological trick on me.
He's baiting him in. We can't...
He's made a move that I can now, my white can now jump his black. But that is most definitely going to open up something painful for me. I just know it.
He's lordly.
You have tricked me into something.
You have to jump it.
So Jordan
Don't have
Spieth
to do
anyway,
anything.
Nathan, while you're waiting to
jump
go
it.
there,
No, I
right?
can. Okay.
You have to, because I said jump. That's part of the rules. I mean, it is part. We you know, we can take it. If I say it, you have to do it. If the position is there for it to be done. Yeah,
what?
100%.
You could be making these things.
Sorry,
up.
I have the rules here right in front of me. How to play.
53106. Sorry, the rules on the MB draft board.
I mean,
can we show the viewers what the draft board that you brought in is to a professional draft player?
There's our draft board. Where are we?
Why are they different colours?
That's a professional. You can't. Sorry, you say jump and I say how high.
No, you just like high as you want, but it just has to go over it. It's like these are the rules. I'm not going to lie to you. Good man there. Take that black piece there with you.
Okay. 53106 here. Is there any text about this? The rules of drafts? No.
Sorry, you're allowed to go this way to that way to that way.
Of course you are. God almighty.
This is outrageous.
You thought you could beat a world Irish champion, but you didn't know the rules.
Well, I think you'll find it's 2-2 at the moment, Mick.
Yeah.
You weren't impressed with Jordan's speed.
Your level of 1 to 100.
The JP McManus program was a great couple of days. Got to spend a good 3 hours just stalking Tiger Woods.
Is this about you personally?
No, I just thought of this when you asked me.
Okay.
Well, otherwise I'm just going to be repeating all the things that you had last night,
fine.
which were all
I'm just
the
saying
obvious things.
No, but actually, because it was an interesting gambit, I thought, or to borrow the chess phrase from a game of drafts, about the JP McManus Pro-Am and the madness that surrounded that being an interesting couple of days in Irish sport. But then you just brought it immediately back to you and how you hung around with golfers for a couple of days.
That's the only reason anyone goes to the JP McManus Pro-Am. What are your interesting thoughts on the JP McManus Pro-Am?
Nothing. I just thought that you might have some. It felt like it feels like it gets bigger all the time, and it feels like it is this weird thing that in a non-competitive environment, the entire world's golfing elite gather in Limerick for a couple of days.
It is absolutely insane, the quality of the field that he gets. So you could go and watch, as I was coming back from Tiger Woods to see could I get some interviews. Bryson DeChambeau was coming down the 18th and there was 50 people along the entire 18th at Adair Manor as Bryson DeChambeau was teeing off.
Yeah, because he was just one of 20 or 30.
So you could go and see a world number 10. You could go and see a world number 1 probably at the time, and Scotty Scheffler not be surrounded by thousands of people. But there's something about Tiger that even in that company, he is still so many steps ahead.
It's concerning for golf, isn't it?
It is, and we recorded our Golf Weekly end of year review today, and talking about Tiger's re-emergence over the last few weeks at the PNC, which is the father and son competition, and the week before that he played in the match where it was himself and Rory McIlroy against Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. And I feel that we're going to see a lot of that the PGA Tour and the television companies are going to try and come up with as many exhibitions or new style competitions to get Tiger Woods into them that aren't 72 holes, him having to walk around.
Yeah.
So you just have to look at Golf Channel over the last couple of weeks. It is wall-to-wall Tiger. The PGA Tour treated the father and son like a normal golf tournament. In fact, I'd say they had more coverage last week than they did of some of the regular events over the course of the year. But it was all Tiger and his son. It's very strange, the analysis as the two of them limped along the fairway together at one stage.
Was the son limping?
The son also had an injury and bizarrely has the exact same limp.
Oof.
Weird, okay.
Is it my go or your go?
It's your go.
Where did you go?
I just went there. Just there.
Okay.
There's also, a nameless person has texted in, he's right, you cannot renege. So, renege.
You can't renege on
if someone says jump, so that's just for
don't
future
be afraid
reference.
to tell him to jump as well.
I won't be afraid to tell him
just
to
make
jump.
sure he's allowed to do it legally.
I just don't know when he will be jumping is my problem.
Yeah, well, there you go.
At the Tigers event in what's that called?
Bahamas, the Hero World Challenge.
That's it, a couple of weeks ago. I saw more coverage. Now, in fairness, it was an incredible shot by, I think, Matt Fitzpatrick or someone, when they hit the ball out into the, a hole, a trash can in the middle of the ocean or whatever it is that they do. There was one shot, but it was very much this is our coverage because this is where Tiger's wearing his golf gear and playing and got a golf club in his hand and he's all part of this and it's happy clappy stuff and it's way less about the tournament. I do feel like you can only get away with that at a certain time of year though. I don't think the week after the Masters there's going to be father and son Tiger competitions,
No, but golf has a big problem right now, or maybe it's not a problem, maybe they're accepting of it, that the year is divided into the first 3.5 months, which is the build up to the Masters, which I think golf fans really enjoy, where particularly in the coming year they have these new elevated events, so all the best players in the PGA Tour are going to play in the same 4 or 5 tournaments in the build up to the Masters across those 3 months. Then you've got this insane rush of the 4 majors in the space of 4.5 months, and then really the season is done. There's a bit of European Tour golf.
There's a lot of money to be won.
There's a lot of money to be made, but it's all exhibition golf, and I think anyone who's not into their golf more or less switches off.
I hate them moving the PGA. Moving the PGA was the worst move they did for. Again, I've many times I've talked about this week. I'm very, I cling on very tightly to the sporting calendar as I once knew it, but I do also think it shortens the season massively. You know, the PGA, I know it was never the biggest event, and the Open felt like the last one, but it was still another major, like 3-4 weeks later. That's gone now. It's just August. It seems like it's just a non-golf month, I have to say.
Well, the Open finishes the middle of July, but there's going to be a big gap again because the Open finishes middle of July. The Ryder Cup is until the first weekend in October.
There'll be qualifying and all. Ryder Cup years are slightly different.
Slightly different. Yeah. I think Live Golf has definitely been one of, in a weird way, the most enjoyable things. More from a work point of view, in that golf has for once been front and centre. Jump.
It's your goal. It's your goal. I'm just moving from there to there. You still have to move. You have to move a piece.
Oh my God.
Did you watch any of the match, by the way?
The match?
Yeah.
I did, yes. It was on Eurosport.
It was, yeah.
Golf was on Eurosport. I'm tuning in. Come on.
Was your man McPherson, Archie McPherson, doing the commentary?
No, he wasn't. They had the US commentary. It was entertaining. It was late night golf in the darkness, floodlit.
Why was that?
TV.
Something else.
American TV viewing. So it's, what was it, Friday night or Saturday night? Saturday night entertainment as it was that night. So Justin Thomas is quite entertaining at that, as Liverpool equalise. Fabio Carvalho with the equaliser. Darwin Núñez had hit the post just a couple of minutes ago.
Look, there's no need even talking about this match. Everybody knows Caoimhín Kelleher is playing. It's going to a penalty shootout.
Penalties yet again.
A few things will happen in the next 120 minutes.
Like, golf gave us some of the craziest, without question, the craziest quotes of the year. Graham McDowell, let's not forget, gave us the ultimate description. Has there been a bigger loser in sport this year, in Irish sport, than Graham McDowell? Like, he has taken an almighty battering. For somebody who was just a very, I don't know if anyone ever had particularly strong opinions on him, but just seen as very likeable, happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, he was. Around the time he won the US Open, the year before and the year after that, Graham McDowell was a pretty big deal in Irish sport, I would say.
He said, if Saudi Arabia want to use the game of golf as a way for them to get to where they want to be, and they have the resources to accelerate that experience, I think we're proud to help them on that journey. That is sports washing in 2 sentences.
There was plenty of it. There was 2 days of it from McDowell, but he hasn't, like, he answered questions for the week that people were asking questions about this, and they stopped. And Live Golf, as Joe pointed out last week, Live Golf has become about, you know, the sanctity of the PGA Tour rather than anything to do with Saudi Arabia.
Can I say jump now?
Don't worry about it. I'll do it anyway.
Okay, thanks. 3-3.
It's gripping.
This is a gripping game.
It looks
we need
pretty
to change
even.
the camera
Arthur, again, I need your analysis here, right?
Well,
this
like,
is
are you
game
confident?
Analysis. This is like, you know, in the match, for example, where you can...
Oh, I'm going to be mic'd up and talking.
Yeah, so what I'm asking you here now is, right, this to me, the untrained eye, you've both taken 3 pieces, your pieces are largely in the same place. What's your confidence level? You've seen him play now for a few minutes.
Well, what my point is, right, and it's we'll get serious. We'll want to treat this serious. For any aspiring drafts players out there.
Draft only.
See this little triangle?
Yes.
Yeah. That was key to keep that.
Okay.
If you keep that in there, you're very hard to beat. You see this?
Yeah, all over the shop.
No triangle.
Right, yeah. No structure whatsoever, I would say.
That's just empty there. That's like a pyramid.
Triangle can't stay there forever.
So does that mean you've room to jump to...
We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know.
We will.
What's your confidence level? Come on, 1 to 100. You're refusing.
I'm still 100. Like, he'll maybe 99. To allow room for whatever could happen, like 99.
I thought there was no room for anything.
It was 100 years was the initial comment.
Wow.
I'm loving this. Okay. What's next? Live Golf.
Leona Maguire's season.
You can't just do golf.
I'm just running through all the golf for starters.
Right, yeah.
First Irish woman to win on the LPGA Tour.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago now. It's all the way back in February. She's not going to get to defend either because the course was destroyed in the bad weather in Florida about a month ago.
Oh, that's a pity.
So the tournament won't be happening next year, so she won't get a chance to defend. 2023 is going to be huge because you have the Solheim and then the Ryder Cup.
is the new
gets
season.
them into the world points list for the Ryder Cup selection for Europe. It's ridiculously complicated, but also there's not a great depth there. He's inside the top 30 in the world. He's going to play in all the majors. Like it was a bad team last year, and it may not be a great team this year, but America don't win on European soil.
Let me come back to Leona, okay? Because last year it was an insane year where it was like Leona Maguire's year going up against Rachel Blackmore, going up against, I can't even remember, right? It was just an insane list of achievements. I feel that this year is as strong as it, but she didn't have a Solheim Cup, she didn't win a major. Unbelievable achievement to win the LPGA Tour, and her star is so on the rise. I don't know how she kicks into your 10 moments of the year, even as a super golf fan. I feel like there's so many more Irish sporting achievements that just sort of like...
Trying to bring something different from last night.
So you're not actually picking, you're just trying to...
Well, otherwise we're just going to have a repeat of Wednesday night show. But I think you're right. And funny, I think Seamus Power would fit into a similar conversation in that he's almost the reverse. I still feel Seamus Power could walk down Grafton Street this evening.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Whereas this time next year, if he plays on a European Ryder Cup team that wins and he plays a big role in that, suddenly you're a superstar, because the Ryder Cup and the Solheim are by far and away the two biggest events in golf. They're not the most important by any stretch. But the 3 days of the Ryder Cup is even bigger than a major championship in terms of the, I guess, your floating sports fans' perception.
Arthur's broken his triangle there.
Yeah,
but it still looks quite secure.
Oh, you say that. He didn't expect that to happen.
Well, he would have
has
to
happen
move
eventually.
At
Some point.
Otherwise, how's he going to use? What's he going to use to jump here? Can I make a bit of a tangent there? Right, Pádraig Harrington said something really interesting on the Golf Weekly interview. Were you on that? You weren't.
No.
But did you listen to it?
I did.
It was just a throwaway comment about form and about peaks, and how Harrington was adamant, Arthur, if you didn't hear it, that like everybody has their peak, even Tiger Woods, like, but his peak was like winning every tournament he turned up in for 2 years, but everybody only has this. But he said something about like Philip Walton, that everything in his career was to play in the Ryder Cup, and then once he achieved that, he almost wasn't able to hit a ball anymore. And I know that's kind of like evident by the trajectory of his career, but it's obviously interesting to hear somebody who knows him saying it straight out. But I don't know if we realise sometimes the amount of how big a deal it is for a golfer, especially at a certain level, to like make a Ryder Cup team, and how much pressure that brings, and how much achievement that fulfills, and so on. I thought that was one of the more interesting things I heard in an interview this year.
There is something different, though, I think, with Irish people in the Ryder Cup. Like even Shane Lowry is talking about next year. His soul.
You don't think they have that in the UK?
Not quite as much. Now, obviously, they've had some of the best Ryder Cup players. They just love that team environment. Now, I think Lowry is talking about it also in a realistic way of he knows if he's at the Ryder Cup, he'll have had a good year anyways.
Yeah.
So he'll have had to have had a decent amount of results and been in form to get his place there.
I think Lowry's a level above here, like than what we're talking about, though, isn't he? Like,
he's gone to a whole lot of. Well, Lowry's had his best every year in terms of sheer consistency, and he won a huge tournament, held off Rory McIlroy at Wentworth.
Yeah.
So third in the Masters.
Tangent out of the way. The reason I bring up the Alan Quinlan again isn't to even bring up, because I think in a normal Irish sporting year, or in a sporting year of many years ago, double take by Arthur. Haven't seen one of them in many's a long year.
That was big.
Nathan's in trouble here.
Wow, this is not going well.
In a normal year, I think something like, continuing her rise and winning on the LPGA Tour would be a bigger deal. But I was just going through this last night when we were doing this. Like, the achievement of Irish sports people this year has been unbelievable. You look at the top 10, the people who were nominated for the RTE Sports Person of the Year. You think that we have a world champion in gymnastics. We had an unbelievable performance in the European athletics, and something that we haven't done in like such a competitive field, and something that we haven't done in a long time. 2 medals in that. 5 medals and 3 gold medals in the European women's boxing. You have Katie Taylor being undisputed best in the world. You have Rory McIlroy as world number 1, competes in all 4 majors, and you have Paula Donovan and Fintan McCarthy dominating the world of lightweight rowing, in so much so that them winning another world championship barely raised an eyebrow. You know, it's like the domination is unbelievable. I don't know if it's an incredible place. When I feel like I'm missing something there in that list as well. And forgive me if I am, but it's just off the top of my head. We actually are in such. I don't know if we've collectively kind of come to terms with the fact that
we're good at
compared to where we were 5, 10, 15 years ago. There seems to be an unbelievable high achievement in Irish sport at the moment.
It can't just be a freak either. It can't just be that all these athletes have come along at the same time.
It might be.
I do want, but I wonder, can you look at what's gone on out in Abbottstown at the National Sports Campus, and every time you go out there, and generally it's out for some FAI press conference or something, but there's a new building and there's new pitches. And I was out there recently with like a under-9 team that you can rent it on a Saturday morning, and they've got 2 huge indoor arenas. One of them is for the rugby team that they use for both the men's and women's and the development squads, and the other then seems to be a sort of GAA soccer whoever you want can rent it out. But the indoor athletics track has everything you could possibly need. Like, the investment that's gone on out there is huge. And also when you talk to the athletes, actually everybody training together from the different codes, sitting, eating together, learning off each other. Like, there has been, obviously there's always an awful lot more that can be done, and we need more Abbottstowns around the country. But there has been a huge investment in athletics and an awful lot of those sports.
Yeah, that's interesting. But even in team sports, like if you look at like the rugby team are number 1 in the world. We haven't even mentioned them. You know, they beat New Zealand this year. The women's team qualified for a World Cup. I don't think that was expected. I don't think we thought they were at that place in their journey, but they absolutely deserved to do it in the end.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.